Sometimes change doesn't roar, it resonates. It moves through stillness, through sensation, through the body. We're not here to push forward, we're here to tune in, to listen for what's already taking root. Because not all beginnings start at the surface. Welcome to the Inward Bloom. Resonance, rhythm, and renewal.
Tune in with the Galactic Spin Podcast and expand your view.
In Lakesh, and welcome everyone out there tuning in with us here at the Galactic Spin Podcast, episode 43. Here alongside my dear brother Rubén Llinás, Kin 113. I should mention my name is Mikuak Rai, Kin 126. Live on location for this auspicious moment together. Thank you. How you doing, brother Rubén?
In Lakesh, Brother Makua, happy galactic return number 72. Ooh. 260 days to your return to origin, return to source. So such an honor to share today this episode 43 with you and with our guest tonight, which was an amazing conversation we had earlier. We really covered a lot, and there is a lot to cover. Of course, we are starting a new year, and there is so much going on. But we are happy to have these opportunities to have some time to really see everything from the big picture, from the perspective of the larger cycles. You are completing this larger cycle of 52 years, and we are going to speak a little bit about that today because, we are in a new serious cycle, and that's a cycle of 52 years. So we are going to check our GPS, our galactic positioning system, to see what is the larger story with this new year that we are starting.
Wow. So much going on, we could say. So much has gone on before, as we just closed this blue rhythmic storm year in a beautiful way with the blue rhythmic night, Akbal 1, 2, 3. And here we are in this resonant seed year, and it is truly profound. I want to give a special shout out to Ishel for that beautiful opening transmission. Glad to have you in sync this cycle and presenting that beautiful energy. So thank you so much. And special shout out as well. I see we have some family and kin in the live chat. Thank you for the birthday wishes and salutations. Thank you so much. And Eden Sky in Lakesh, great to see you here on location in this resonant seed spin as we spin together and ascend. Profound times on the planet, there's so much to be said for sure. It is the beginning of a galactic new year. I'm very grateful for the tools that have been presented to us through consciousness, truly to help us make this transition at this time. And, with that in mind, I want to encourage people to also check out the galactic calendar produced by Eden and 13moon.com. We encourage people to support that because it's one of the great tools. 30 years they've been producing that. So I want to just show honor and respect for that. And it's a brand new spin here, and we're just looking forward to what's ahead, because so much is behind us at this point, while there's so much before us. And that's what I'm really feeling into right now, personally, in my own experience of a fractal spiral time compression, being that today, as you stated, is 260 from my 52nd birthday, and my solar return. And that galactic solar return, the true galactic solar return, because of the synchronicity of 52. So yeah, it's not lost on me, the moment that we are, passing through, particularly as we're heading toward this golden intersection of timelines, as those who have been tracking this with us and along with us, really since we began to make it conscious over Medium, when you were publishing those blogs in particular, and we began counting out from 1,440 days. Remember that?
Yes, I remember.
You remember that? And now I know, it's just like yesterday. And now here we are, 78 days to the golden intersection of timelines today. So I think that's remarkable, as we're just seeing the progress, the progression, and the synchronization. Most importantly, what I've been really witnessing over this past few days with the Day Out of Time celebration and everything, and I know we're going to share a bit more about this here in the broadcast. It's truly the uniting of the counts is unreal. It's making that conscious, because these counts have always been united. Number is not divided from itself. Number is number. Synchronization is synchronization. Number is higher order communication. And so what we're witnessing now, so important, because there are so many misinterpretations about what we just experienced with the Day Out of Time. And we experience this and have done so annually ourselves, just engaged in this work and holding this space, is helping mitigate and clarify the confusion that's out there in the field, in particular about the work of Dr. Arguelles, the legacy of the Law of Time Foundation in terms of the posit of these codes through a so-called galactic Maya lens, and also recognizing that these codes are not the traditional Maya count. They are based on a significantly different count according to a specific prophecy and point in the sequence of events. And it's important to put it in context, because we could simply say it is wrapped up in the controversies, we would say, around Delanda and the arrival of the Spanish and the Catholic Church and all of that. That is not the whole story in any way. Because what we're dealing with here are frequencies. We're dealing with also the fact that everything in nature is evolving. Everything by nature of our sun is metamorphosizing. Like we are mutating as a human species. Now, systematically, institutionally, we've been divided and separated from each other for thousands of years at this point. So we would be hard pressed to actually recognize what it looks like to unify the field. So, we can observe through the numbers, particularly through the golden ratio, what it's communicating in terms of the unification event that we are part of, that we are all literally a witness to or participants in, and it has myriad expressions. Though notably, this expression through number at the golden intersection of timelines is profound.
Yes.
And so it's just not lost on me the significance of this moment, and knowing that in this process, you are currently in your 52nd cycle, and I'm going to follow in the synchronization of that, So it's just, it's a beautiful moment, and it just further affirms the purpose for which I know I incarnated on some level, to help hold space cooperatively with other relations around the world who are truly in this new field of energy already. And so
Yes.
that's why today's sharing and conversation with our sister, Ken
Mm-hmm.
144 in Costa Rica, is so significant because there are some of us who are more dialed in than others, though we're all
Mm-hmm.
connected. And when one of us is healed, we're all healed. When one of us is connected, we all get connected.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to do something here on my computer momentarily. I'm actually downloading as we speak the video
Okay.
for the interview that we're going to share that we did pre-record earlier today. So
Okay.
give me one moment as I'm kind of navigating a little bit of a tech opportunity here. We're going to see if this computer can withstand demand that is being placed on it at this moment. Just
Yeah.
give me,
Well,
yeah,
and in the meanwhile, just yes, adding to everything you just mentioned, the fact that this new energy of the yellow resonant seed is really asking us to get into resonance with everything and become that resonance. Our is really entering the heart,
mm,
and we are at the heart of the soul right now. So it's an amazing opportunity to uh, enter into resonance with our past, our future, our present realities, and enter into resonance with the indigenous peoples who have been holding the frequency for so long,
yeah,
and who really are the stewards of the frequency still today, because
absolutely.
they let's say that they are the ones that keep the ceremonies with the earth, the ceremonies in the original languages, like the Maya Quiche people in Guatemala, the and all the spiritual circles here in Mexico, the Calpulis that were actually our first section of today is going to be in that spirit of unifying counts and unifying everything that is taking place at the moment, because these are really, really transcendental times for the planet, as, considering everything that is happening with technology, artificial intelligence, the geopolitical dramas that are unfolding. So it's so important just to hold that frequency of the heart in this yellow resonance seed year.
Mm,
And we are going to dive today into layers and layers and layers of that, because we are entering into resonance with larger cycles of time, way larger than our minds can even process. And that's part of the golden intersection of timeless, is be an anchor for that resonance within this resonant year.
mm, absolutely. And in the spirit of that unifying of the time, I really wanted to share and give a special shout out. Ishel and I had the great privilege of spending the day out of time here in LA with some dear relations, Tata Jose Apu Munoz, who's been a prior
Mhm.
guest on this podcast earlier in the season. And they gifted me this most incredible jade
Mhm.
piece
Mhm.
with the Kimi and the Olmec Nubun face. Really beautiful.
Mhm.
And I have to also thank Ishel because she saw Jose presenting this, and he had been recently carving these things, because these tools
Yes.
and implements are very, very sacred. This is jade. I mean, hopefully you can see the
Mhm.
light should really illuminate how beautiful it really is. And it's amber and jade. Such a special
Mhm.
combination. I mean, really two of my favorites. And
Mhm.
she saw it, and we inquired about it, and in any case they gifted it to me, and I just really want to acknowledge them for this treasure, because it really truly is a treasure. And I want to also encourage people to visit their website, ancientfuturetechnologies.com. I'm just putting the link in the chat right now, so please check it out. They have so many beautiful pieces and items for ceremonial purpose, for spiritual
Mhm.
work, for clearing energy. That's really what it's all about. And I think, in fact, I think Eden may know Tata Jose Apu Munoz. I know he's certainly familiar with her work. And he's truly he's a timekeeper, as people would remember from his previous appearance here on the podcast. And I mean, yeah, an amazing gift, and it's just truly powerful. So just to say that the time for unifying the human family has long been upon us, but this is certainly the most precious time of it all. And in the face of everything we see happening on the third dimension and the third density level, this is time more important than ever, as you mentioned, that we really do collapse into the heart, because that's effectively what's happening anyway. And so it's like you want to go with the flow of the current. You don't want to go against it. And if everything is collapsing into the heart naturally anyway, go with it. Go with it. And you'll tune in and you'll know what that means for you. If there's something you've been ignoring to do that sits in your heart to do, this is the time to do it, because whatever's unattended is coming up right now. We see that. And so we don't want to get in our own ways, although we love to maybe self-sabotage or talk ourselves out of change. So this is a time to be surrender to change, be in a state of release to the shift. Sort of like when you go into the Temescal and you hit that point where you release, you surrender, and the breath is the gift. Like we always have the breath. We have the breath of life. We have the guidance of spirit always at our access. We truly always have everything we require. So I just really want to encourage people to, be fully present to this transition that we are all participating in, So yeah, we honor our relations. We honor the unification of these timekeeping frequencies and systems the world over. And we also give thanks for the restoration of truth relative to the original people and who they are and where they've been and how and what's been covered up in these processes. Because there's a lot of sophistication out here in the field, but there's a lot of cover up too. So we have to be very clear, because this change is very organic as much as it's modern and sophisticated. It's organic. It's that we've talked about that before. It's the natural intelligence aspect. And also along with that, you have natural time, and you have natural law, and you have natural rights. So these are all things that we are determined in and standing in at this point as a unified whole that's awakening to the fact that it's unified. That's what I would say. Yeah. And with that said, let's get into the Earth's pulse. How about that?
Yes, let's do that.
Sure enough.
Yes, and well, we took the license today to cover maybe something that may not be world news, but for our local communities here in Mexico was a very important day, the start of the year, because there was the celebration, a big celebration, cultural celebration in Mexico City at the Zócalo, celebrating the 700 years or 7 centuries since the founding of the city of Tenochtitlan. So that's still like 700 years is 1525. So there's a long story before that. But let's say that because Mexico City is the 5th largest city in the world, the largest city in America, well, it's a convergence point of energies, no? And a cultural point of convergence, no? And these celebrations took place precisely on July 26. Even though the city was founded on March 15, only the celebrations took place on July 26. And this is connected to the spiritual traditions here, because the zenithal passage of the sun at the latitude of Mexico City is taking place on July 26th. So probably they were the dancers and all the indigenous peoples and citizens of Mexico City, including, of course, the president and all the armed forces and the establishment who were gathering at this central node. They were really connecting with that energy, that pulse of the sun, because on the first of all, on the Aztec calendar, which is basically the culture that is still very alive in Mexico City, it was the day Xochitl, which is the flower. So we want to honor, first of all, that count. That is basically the same 1320 frequency. It's just that it has different names, different archetypes, different cosmology, but it's the same frequency. It's a 1320 frequency. They call it the Tonalpowali, but the important aspect is that even though the flower is not the sun like the one in the Maya count, because that day was Tu Ahau or Tu Sun on the indigenous Maya count, it represents that last stage of the process. And on the Galactic Maya count, on the dream spell, was Kin 124, the Yellow Resonant Seed. And we have the beautiful expression of nature there. We have the seed, we have the flower, and we have the sun. So the three of them are really narrating a larger story, and there is no need to really condemn or create more polarity, because as Jose Arguelles Valumvotan mentioned, all these sacred calendars are part of a larger science called the synchronic order, and within this order, all these different ways of tracking time are synchronizing. So it is very also auspicious that on the indigenous Maya it was the day Tu Ahau, which is Tu Sun, because as we can see on the next slide, that's precisely what is happening. We have the spiritual sun, which is Sirius, rising on that day before the sun, and at the same time, the sun aligning in 90 degrees with the earth and bringing that energy to the planet. That double sun or two sun energy of Sirius, which is the larger sun behind the sun, and our local star. So this is happening also, as we can see, at the center of the 260-day Solkin matrix. So we are receiving in that resonant channel the resonant seed energy, and it was a moment of remembrance in Mexico City yesterday. There was a very, very colorful and beautiful expression of art and culture. All the dancers, the feathers, the colors, the little kids also being part of that remembrance of the original traditions, no? Because if there is something about this land, is that they keep their traditions alive. It's something that doesn't happen in other places in South America. Here, the language is very alive. The dances, the customs, the food, everything is still remembered, and it's so important because, well, as we can see on the next slide, this merging of these two suns are really giving the energy to that resonant seed to flower. That's why we are saying that this cycle is not a regular year, is a very special year that we are entering, because it's at the heart of the Solkin matrix. And in that spirit, we are going to extend a little bit more on the next section on all the cycles that this energy is synchronizing. It's not just this one day synchronization with the 700 years of Mexico City or Tenochtitlan. It is a larger story that is taking place, and to also be clear about the intention of this episode in recognizing this. We brought this quote from Jose Arguelles, Dr. Jose Arguelles, that actually was taken from 13moon.com, Eden's website, which clarifies a little bit these misunderstandings that are in between the council. So if you want to read them,
sure.
The statement.
Sure, thank you. The dream spell count, based on the Gregorian calendar synchronization date of July 26, is a precise expression of the only recorded prophetic tradition of the Chilam Balam, the jaguar priests of lowland Yucatec Maya. The Quiche or Mayan long count represents the chronological order of time. As such, it is a linear interpretation of the Tzolk'in sacred calendar. The purpose of the Chilam Balam count was to establish a basis for understanding that there exists a synchronic order of time, completely apart from what is usually referred to as the long count, the linear count of days, BC 3113 to AD 2012. The synchronic order is complementary to this linear interpretation, but introduces the human to the radial order of the higher dimensions. We may now define the traditional count as the indigenous Maya and the dream spell Chilam Balam as the galactic Maya. The two counts actually constitute a prophetic alliance. There is no conflict. The law of time embraces both systems in the higher fourth dimensional order of truth. Jose Arguelles, Volume Votan.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think that's certainly appropriate to posit, given that we always know, again, around this time of year when there is so much frustration or anger or vexation because of misinformation and because of misinterpretation, that unfortunately only really comes as projections, that people who tend to make those projections haven't really endeavored to open the vista or perspective that is introduced in this way. You know, just, I mean, they haven't necessarily endeavored to even sit with the codes themselves from that lens, through the lens of the synchronic order. So, which is remarkable. And when you do, it is like a flower blossoming, truly, in its own way. So, yeah. But thank you for making sure we posited that right now as well.
Yes, and also acknowledge that the golden intersection of timeless is in that same spirit of merging the two counts, even the Gregorian calendar, into one harmonic interaction of different calendars, that we can really be at peace with our past, and be able to transcend that past of disinformation or ignorance, because a lot of the people who talk about the Mayan New Year or refer to this as an ancient tradition of the Maya didn't observe a day out of time. So this is part of the new dispensation of time that Jose was speaking on that paragraph, and that people with probably good intentions, because they want to bring back that ancestral wisdom, they refer mistakenly as the Mayan New Year or the Mayan calendar. This is not the Mayan calendar. It is based on the frequency of the Mesoamerican calendars that was originally created by the Olmec, inherited by the Maya, inherited by the Aztec. So there is a stream of wisdom that is emerging from this frequency. So what I think that what we need to keep present is that it really is not that important which count do you follow, but are we following the right frequency? If people are following the Aztec calendar, it's a 1320 frequency. If we are following the Maya Quiche count, is the 1320 frequency. If we are following the Galactic Maya count, is the 1320 frequency. So it's important to acknowledge that, to go beyond that polarity and that division, because we are completing 13 years from crossing the 2012 event horizon, and that moment was the unification of counts. So there is no need to keep dragging that layer of ignorance and polarity that is not helping really the world to evolve to the next level of consciousness. So I think that paragraph you just read from Jose just is the synthesis of what we are trying to do here, what the golden intersection is all about, just to unifying the counts. That was the purpose of this entire process that Jose initiated in 1987 with the new dispensation of time. It was to give the Western mind and the modern world an opportunity to bring back the frequency, the 1320 frequency.
I might even say that the counts are unifying themselves, and we're just called to bear witness to it, because the reality is we are making it conscious, but that began for us in 2018 when you identified that intersection specifically. Though when we really step back and consider, it's a completion of 13 tunes. That's a higher order of consciousness automatically there anyway, that is showing up in relationship with this golden ratio number frequency, like of the Gregorian and these other factors. It's just a phenomenal thing to witness what is actually synchronizing itself. And I feel like it's nature expressing itself through number for us to truly bear witness, because it's a universal transcendental language. It doesn't get caught up in the Tower of Babel confusion between our cultural or national tongues, so to speak. It's a higher order of ordering, really, universal order. So to make it conscious, though, is really the opportunity now. And I agree, like this, where we're at such a moment as we approach a threshold, it's just phenomenal. And as we'll also hear from our guest this evening, this is a time to really, truly have the agency of self-expression to speak your truth from your heart. Get into your heart and speak your truth. You don't want to get into your heart and hide away. Get into your heart and speak your truth. Really, truly express your care, express your purpose, express your intention. Like that's a part of right now as well, is returning ourselves to having agency for expression. We know that over the past few decades, suppression of differing opinions, we've seen it. It happens in cycles and waves, the censorship and things of this nature. I mean, we've seen it up close and personal. We've witnessed it all around the world. But this is not a time to be timid about your truth. This is a time to speak it truly into the field with love. with love. And sometimes that love does get expressed as a torrent, a storm, perhaps, it can express in different ways. And so we want to honor the expression, and encourage that it comes from the heart, from a place of love. Though truly have agency to speak your truth, because we have to have a unified voice. We have to all have that same agency to speak our truth and to hold the space to witness each other's truth, and that's a part of the process now too. So all of this is happening, and it's only speeding up in the sense that we're coming tighter and tighter and tighter into the center as that spiral turns inward. And this is what I certainly feel I'm experiencing. And at the same time, the timing is impeccable, And so, I see TPH says she's been called a storm. Yeah. I mean, think about the pattern that a cyclone is actually moving, a spiral pattern. That energy is moving. Like we are all that in many ways. And what's interesting also, when we get into these solar seals, and emphasizing they are solar seals, they are informed by the sun. Let's be clear. Each of those characteristics is in us. We all possess all of them, though we do have that first breath experience, the one that's activated at your breath, by the wind, at your moment of breath, your first breath at the moment of birth. Though we continue moving through all of those energies, that range of energies throughout our lives. The key here, I feel, is to embrace the energies. Learn about your earth family, learn about your different qualities, so that you can be at peace with your expression, so you can truly own your truth, from the heart.
And learn about your date of birth on the indigenous Maya count, or the Aztec count, and see what comes into resonance with your galactic signature, because it's all connected. It's only our mind that tends to separate and break apart things, but this is all connected through the same frequency, as I mentioned before.
Absolutely. Well, in the spirit of that, let's go ahead and sink in and tune up, because this is what we're doing.
It's a lot to cover today.
Yeah, we have a good one. So y'all hold on to your seats over there. We're gonna we'll make it through. But thank you so much for tapping in and staying tuned. First things first, we want to welcome you firstly to this new year, of course, the Yellow Resonant Seed year, as we've been sharing. So welcome to everybody. And in fact, in the spirit of this new year, I want to go ahead and recite the affirmation, because I believe it's important in terms of speaking our truth. This is a chance to resonate that truth to the cosmos, throughout the universe. And so the code or the affirmation for this current galactic signature that codes this entire year, Yellow Resonant Seed, Kin 124. I channel in order to target, inspiring awareness. I seal the input of flowering with the resonant tone of attunement. I am guided by the power of intelligence. Let that sink in. And the first thing that really does stand out to me is the target. We're channeling in order to target. And as we recognize what these codes are communicating, we can also see where we find ourselves positioned in the Tzolk'in in real time, because we see we're in that column. We're not only in the resonant channel of the signature, we're in the resonant channel of the entire Tzolk'in matrix. So as we look at that question of channeling in order to target, it amplifies that considerably as we find ourselves right here in that mystic column. And so what is it that we are channeling individually as well as collectively, noospherically even, right now? What is it that we're targeting? What's the target? What's the goal? What's the aim?
Mm-hmm.
What's the focus, in a sense? And inspiring awareness, like that's part of, the inspiration, the spirit coming in to enliven our awareness. And when we think of that channel, we also think of the channel of the breath and the path that it takes, within through the center of our being, that it's a part of this organic process. Now we seal the input of flowering or flowering. How do we flow in this energy? How are we literally flowing with the current of energy? That's another quality to consider as we seal that input of flowering or flowering, as we're talking about today, in the blossoming and the becoming, with the resonant tone of attunement. Now, what does that suggest? When you're attuning yourself, it's suggesting that there's something you're attuning with or to, perhaps. That resonant tone of attunement, and I'm sure we can all feel into what that means for us and go with that feeling, go with that as I say, follow your bliss. What makes you come alive from within? What is that inspiring thing? What is that attunement like for you? And being guided by the power of intelligence, very significant in that that's the warrior energy. Warrior, being guided by that warrior is really quite something. And I think Michelle and I thought about it recently. She's a warrior, electric warrior, right? Kin 16. She's the 16 itself. And warrior is the 16th solar seal. Now, in that 1-6, you have the golden ratio right there. So this energy is being guided literally this year through, like a golden thread, through the golden intersection of timelines, just to make these things conscious, weaving it all together. So that's what I'm seeing and feeling and sensing into. We want to encourage folks, if you do want to be able to track this, there's a great app on iOS called 1320 Sync. So we encourage people to check that out. It's a great tool of the available tools out there to use, just to have these codes at your fingertips, because they are very, very helpful. You can also
probably the most complete one.
Yeah, it's thorough, and they keep improving it all the time. They're always making updates and really great new tools and layers in their apps. So shout out to 1320 Sync. And so with that, welcome. We invite you to scan the QR code on the screen, and it takes you to theharmonicfactor.com, where you can download the PDF of our harmonic synchronometer, the 1328 synchronometer, that we produce, that includes the fractal frequencies, as we'll get into. You know what? I realized I had the wrong one of those days. So this is what we want to show as well as we think in and tune up. What I was showing was actually what is next, but it's all the same, really. So we do need to go to the website even to follow along as we're having this conversation, really and true. So welcome to the new year. It is a special one. As you can see, we have a special seal on this, being that it is the year containing this golden intersection of timelines. And anything you'd like to posit there?
Well, it's interesting to notice that in sacred geometry also we have not only the concept of the golden proportion, but the golden angle, and that golden angle is 137.5 degrees, which happens to be like the two numbers in between. 137.5 is 137 and 138, and these are the markers of the last new Sirius cycle, 1.37, and the one that we are entering, 1.38. So the numbers are fractal in nature also, so we can apply the sequence of the numbers to really enter into resonance with other aspects of the sacred mathematics or sacred geometry that is embedded in nature. So we know that that sunflower that we portray here, because we have 7 here 7 sunflowers. Let's remember that the Fibonacci sequence, the first 13 steps of that spiral, the first 7 steps in number 13. We have the 1, then the 2, then the 3, then the 5, then the 8, then the 13. And when we arrive to the 13, we arrive to that 7th stage of creation. So we wanted to honor that, and of course, in the cover we decided to include that bee, because it's important to receive the nectar, and to organize in the same beautiful way that bees teach us, so that we can make really take the juice out of this opportunity that we are now entering, and of course become that resonance, that embodiment of that resonance, so that we can work with other human beings in bringing the planet to that higher resonance that we are supposed to experience, and that because of all the interference that is happening, we tend to lower our own frequency, lower our own vibration, and then become distracted by everything that may be happening on the outside, but is really an inside journey, like we mentioned at the beginning. This is really an opportunity to go within and to appreciate that this frequency of the golden ratio is in everything. Is in the sunflowers, is in the galaxies, in the pine cones, is in our ears, in the way that the hair grows in our heads. So it's in our DNA. So it's all around us and within us, and we just need to make it conscious so that we can resonate into that same frequency. Just by making this conscious, we are already resonating in the frequency of the golden ratio.
Absolutely.
And speaking about resonance, that's the qualities of the Yellow Resonant Seed years. Also the numbers behind these galactic signatures is the solar seal is number 4, which is the seed, and as you already covered, is the each solar seed and each galactic tone has an action, an essence, and and the power. And the seed is the action is to target. The power is of the power of flowering, and the essence is the essence of awareness. And the resonant tone, again, the action is to inspire. The essence is attune. The power is to channel, and the essence is attunement. And these are 4 and 7 are the key numbers, part of the mathematical ratios that govern the synchronic order. So what we see on top of the screen is that sacred proportion of 4:7 as 7:13. And that means, as we can see on the little dots below the text, the 4 is at the heart of the 7, and the 7 is at the heart of the 13. So the quality of resonance of this year is amplified because it is at the center of the Solking matrix, and the 2 numbers that code the Yellow Resonant Seed hold that resonant qualities of the cycles. And what we want to make conscious is that precisely this year we are at the center of a cycle of 13 years. So we are at the heart of a bundle of 13 years, and we are also at the end of a cycle of 13 years. So if we can move to the next slide, this is one of the pages of the new synchronometer in which we are showcasing the full journey of 52 years of New Serious Cycle 1 that started at the right of the screen with the year of the white galactic wizard, Kin 34. At the center is the year of the blue resonant storm and the yellow galactic seed. That those 2 years mark the transition from the 25th to the 26th new Sirius cycle, but basically is the perfect half of this 52 new Sirius cycle 1 that, as we can see on the right side of the screen, started on July 26, 1987 on Kin 34 and will come to a close on July 25th, 2039, day out of time, Kin 33. The important aspect of this, and the reason we are bringing it now to our awareness, is because those 52 years, thanks to the fractal qualities of the synchronic order, can be nested inside the first cycle of 52 kin of the soul kin matrix, which is what we see right there at the center, is the red castle, which holds 4 cycles of 13 kin, the dragon, the wizard, the hand, and the sun are and if we apply that fractal lens, because this is not something, this is part of the second creation, this is a new interpretation that we are bringing to the surface, just to see the fractal qualities of the synchronic order. This is a proposal, basically, an idea to be able to track time and to track that hologram of 260 days, 260 weeks or heptads, 260 moons, and 260 years. And in that way, we experience different qualities at different of time at different scales. So in that sense, what we see here, where we see the green sign that says we are here, we can see that we are at the end of the cycle, the third cycle of 13 years that goes from 2013 to 2026, and that corresponds to the 13 kin cycle of the blue hand, which will close on Kin 39, which is the blue cosmic storm. So if we move to the next slide, we can see this map in a more simplified way. The red dragon wayspell will correspond to the first 13 years of the new dispensation of time, 1987 to 2000. Then the wizard wayspell will correspond to the years 2000 to 2013. That's 26 years, and then the last 26 years of the 52-year cycle will be the hand wayspell, 2013 to 2026. We see here the blue cosmic storm highlighted in green. So that's why we were saying that this year of coded by tone 7, we are closing that cycle of 13. Let's remember that the new Sirius cycle chronology starts with a 0. That's why this year is new Sirius cycle 1.38, because the first cycle was really NS 1.0. So we can make the accounting from 0 to 38, there are 39 units, but from 1 to 39, there are also 39 units. And that's important because that means that we are closing a cycle of 13 years, but we are also at the center of a cycle of 13 years that goes from tone 1 to tone 13. And in the next slide, we can see a little bit of also the importance of this entire cycle of new Sirius within the new Sirius chronology, is that it is synchronizing with the Venus, the cycles of Venus. In both cycles, as we can see here, one is a cycle of 52 years, the one that we were mapping on the prior slide, and another is the Syrian round is a cycle of 104 years. Those 104 years corresponds to 13 cycles of 8 years each, calls this the synodic cycles of Venus. And both cycles are, or both stars, because one is the brightest star. Sirius is similar to our sun, but way bigger, but is a body, a celestial body that emanates light, while Venus is only a planet that reflects light. But because Venus is closer to us than Sirius, we see Venus brighter than Sirius. But both stars were tracked and honored by ancient cultures, not only here in Mesoamerica, but also in places like Africa and what is today the Great Britain, Ireland. They were tracking the cycles of Venus and Sirius, and of course Egypt, because at the time they didn't have tools to navigate the Earth or navigate the cycles. And if you track the brightest and most brilliant celestial bodies in the sky, you start to get a sense of different patterns and rhythms that otherwise we will not be aware today. So this is really what we are noticing as we start this year, is that in the year 2036, a new cycle of Venus will start on this same frequency of the Yellow Resonant Seed. And we can see on the next slide that this is the what is called the Venus pentagonal cycle. Is an 8-year cycle. In that cycle of 8 years, Venus and the Earth meet 5 times at those 5 points within a perfect pentagram. And the first point of the star in the year, the cycle of 8 years that will go from 2028 to 2036, is this same signature that is coding the emergence of the star Sirius on July 26, 2025. So this is important because that means that on July 26, we were exactly 4 Solkins of 260 days away from the start of that cycle of the most brilliant star in the night sky. That is, again, is a planet, not a star, but we call it the morning star or the evening star. And those 4 Solkins are equivalent to 1,040 days, which is a fractal of the 104 years that takes the Venus round. Let's remember, to make it this more clarifying, there are 8 years for 1 pentagram, and when we complete 13 pentagrams or 13 stars, that's a Venus round. So 13 times 8, both Fibonacci numbers, complete 104. And when we complete like a wave spell of, instead of 1 kin equals 1 day, is 1 kin will be 8 years. So when we complete a cycle of or a spiral of 13 cycles of 8 years or 13 pentagrams, we complete 1 Venus round, and this would be the third of a series of pentagrams that we are tracking since the year. Well, we started tracking them since the Venus transit, but we only make this way or this infographic public in the year 2020, when we started the current Venus cycle. So in the next slide, we can see also how this is part of a larger hologram of 5 cycles of 8 years that will end in the year 2052, and that started with the Venus transit of 2012. And why starting it on the Venus transit? Because first of all, Venus transits, which is the moment when the planet passes through the solar disk, because sometimes the conjunctions or the alignments between the Earth, Venus, and the Sun, the planet is passing either above or below the solar disk. But when it passes through the solar disk, that only happens every 113 years. So we know that in our lifetime, this Venus transit will not happen again. And that the Venus transit, they come in pairs. So there was one Venus transit in the year 2004 and a closing Venus transit on the year 2012. That's the pentagonal cycle of 8 years, 2004 to 2012. So what is interesting is that Venus transit took place on Kin 9. It started on June 5, Kin 8, and ended on June 6, Kin 9. And those were the same signatures 3 Solkins after, 3 Solkins later, that coded the Out of Time, 2014, and the Galactic New Year. So since that Venus transit, let's say that these 2 stars are weaving a thread of light that is connecting us to, let's say, to our ancient future past, the way that our ancestors used to track these cycles, and that thanks to the synchronic order, we are able to really see the points of convergence. So that same synchronization that took place in the year 2014, 3 Solkins after the Venus transit, is going to take place in the year 2028, 4 Solkins after this emergence of Sirius in the night sky. So I'm hoping that this is making sense for people, because of course I see that a lot of this is new information, even though we have been posting about this and writing about this since the year 2020. The Venus cycles are part of a new cosmology or a new understanding that we actually are understanding more and more as time moves on. So it was only until recently that we noticed that pattern, that the emergence of the brightest star is synchronizing with the emergence or with the conjunction of the brightest planet every now and then, and always synchronized by the 260-day cycle. So that's something that we want to fully map out. But in the next slide, we can see basically in a nutshell what happens. On the right side, we see the 2 Venus transit highlighted in green, and then we can see 3 stars, 1 Venus cycle that goes from the year 2012 to 2020, 8 years, that started on Kin 9 moon, and 3 Solkins later, as we can see below, we were receiving the year coded by that same galactic signature of the red solar moon, Kin 9, and now we are in that white cycle of 8 years that goes from 2020 to 2028. And when we start the 3rd cycle of 8 years that goes from 2028 to 2036, it will synchronize again with the marker of New Sirius cycle 1.38. So we can see how the closing and opening of the cycles of Sirius are synchronizing with the closing and opening of the cycles on Venus. And this is part of the new information that it's coming in after 2012. And it was important because even Jose left some literature on the importance of the Venus transit of 2012 as a signal that that was the last Venus transit of the before closing the 13th Bactune. And it was only days before, and on the same galactic spin. These two important events, the Venus transit and the galactic alignment at the solstice point of December 21st, 2012, the long count marker 13.0.0.0.0, were probably the most two important events of 2012. So since then, we are just coming out of a larger process of synchronization that is just starting to become visible as we progress on the timeline. And I don't know if you have any comment or question that I may clarify, because of course this information I want to make sure that it was clear.
No, I mean, I think it's elegant how you've presented it, for sure. I did have a question. What was the kin number of the June 6th event 2012? What was the kin number of that Venus transit?
Yeah, what we see here is kin 9.
Kin 9.
So that, yeah.
Okay. That's
Let's say that.
So the kin 9 all the way to kin 207, as you're saying, with the closing of the cycle, was within the same galactic spin itself, within that same 260-day window.
Yeah, it was 198 days later, the closing of the cycle.
Wow. Okay. Perfect. That's a mirror frequency. So it just seems very, I mean, it's powerful to see how they're dancing and weaving together, as when you lay it out like this with the linear, ability to see it from this perspective, you can really see, you can get a sense for how they are weaving. And mind you, this is tracking only but a very small window of their relationship. Where, as you say, this is just something even being made conscious now, really, since the closing of the cycle, or within that window, beginning with the anchoring, as you said, during the Venus transit. So that becomes something very important, obviously, to make conscious, because for various reasons, we have a direct relationship. We, as a planetary whole, have a direct relationship with planet Venus, obviously.
It's our closest neighbor. So it's really a dance that is happening with our closest neighbor, because it's not only our closest neighbor, it's the closest in size, and it's a mirror in many ways. Let's remember that the Venus, a day is longer than the year. So the planet is basically spinning way slower on its own axis than spinning around the sun. And it takes around 2/3 of a year, one day in Venus.
Wow.
But it takes 224 days, which is precisely one. It's a relationship of 5 to 8, always. So we have in 8 moons 224 days, and plus 5 moons to complete the year, 140. So let's say that it takes for Venus to go around the sun once is 8 moons of 8 cycles of the moon, 8 cycles of 28 days. And that's why the full cycle of Venus at different scales is always synchronized by the golden proportion. In 8 years, we have 8 cycles of 13 moons each. So we have 104 moons for one star pentagram. So that's the beauty of this relationship, is that we can perceive different layers of that dance that is happening in between both planets, and that is connected to the feminine energy, really, because what the ancients were saying is that Venus is an expression of the divine feminine. And when it comes into alignment with the sun and it crosses the solar disk, there is an alchemy happening between the masculine and the feminine, and that alchemy happened for the last time in our lifetimes in 2012.
Amazing.
But it was a really special moment to record, especially because it took place right before the closing of the cycle and right before we passed that threshold at the middle of this graphic, which is galactic synchronization, another important marker. Galactic synchronization was also celebrated July 26, 2013, when we completed the first 26 years of this cycle of 52. That's why it's important now to track, because we can now because we can see the pattern, we can track the pattern backwards and forwards and see how they weave, and actually be able to formulate future conjunctions without even using technology. Basically just tracking the cycles of 260 days, 8 years, each year 13 months, and how the numbers and the 5, the 8, and the 13 give us the pace to which look for these synchronizations between both stars.
Wow. I mean, the beauty of it is the beauty of it. Like, it's like, this is just a way for us to observe the beauty. You know, it's really, really something, because the elegance of the patterns and the weaving is just, you know, it's undeniable. And that's why it has obviously captivated our attention as a species for eons at this point, because it's also, it's consistent. You know, and that's one of the things. I mean, it's consistent as it was for the ancients. It is even now. Yeah. So
and
remarkable.
And the last conjunction, or the last, because right now we are in we just completed the fourth internal conjunction between Venus and the Earth on Kin 259, March 23rd. So we were at the end of the last galactic spin.
Exactly.
While the Venus transit took place at the beginning of the galactic spin on the first wave spell, the last, and the next meeting of Earth and Venus will take place on Kin 59 in the coming year 2026, and 59 was the year bearer of New Zero Cycle 1.25. July 26, 2012 was that.
Wow.
And those two markers are 20 Solkins apart. So there is a beautiful dance happening.
Wow.
That we are just starting to be able to see and make conscious, and that's why these maps are just ways of perceiving that. But we have to really internalize it and feel that, because the cycles of Venus, it's really a way for us to attune ourselves to the golden proportion. If we are able to make sense of these cycles, and because at the beginning, I have to be honest, I couldn't tap into this because my mind was out of sync with these frequencies. But the more we become familiar with them, the more natural they are, and the more we attune with them. And probably that's the reason why the golden intersection showed up, because once you see the pattern somewhere, it just starts to pop in different places, and that's what we are doing.
Completely. I wanted to mention, you mentioned the galactic synchronization portal of July 26, 2013, and the kin that day being 164. And that's the combined kin of Etznab and I, King Etznab, actually, 38,
Oh, wow.
126, 164. So I thought that was something special to acknowledge. I see him showing up in the chat also mentioning the Venus transit dance is a mirror that he mapped in 2012 than one of his prior writings. And for the chat, he's also mentioning that his daughter was born on December 21st, 2012, which, by the way,
wow.
he predicted that actually happening. So I think that's a special thing to
Wow.
acknowledge right there, as we're in this
A new generation.
a new generation, man. And, now 13 years into this next generation, that's a phenomenal marker as well. So shout outs for continuity,
Yeah. Let's remember that on December 21st, 2012, we closed a cycle of 260 generations that the Maya used to call katuns. And we are that was the last chapter of the Homo sapiens sapiens. And from that day, December 21st, 2012, we are in this new stage of evolution called the Homo nosphericus, or the Homo luminous, Homo angelicus. There's so many names for it, but we are in a mutation phase.
We're mutating. That is very clear. We are definitely a mutation underway, for sure. Let's move forward and check out then this mapping of these 13 years since the magnetic wizard cycle.
Yeah.
And go ahead and speak to this a little bit. This is a mapping for people to really appreciate of. We're in the middle of it now. We're in that 7th year. So you can see that highlighted in the center of this wave.
Yeah. So we just tracked cycles of 13 years, 1987, 2000, 2013, 2026. So that's bundles of 13 years. But because the new dispensation of time started on a galactic tone, well, there is a different rhythm. So it's a rhythm within the rhythm. But with that, every year holds a different tone, and it goes up one tone every year. So the current 13-year cycle, where we started on the magnetic tone, was it started on July 26, 2019, the year of the white magnetic wizard. We mentioned this on another episode, but the year 2023 to 2024 was the year of the white overtone wizard. And now we are on the 7th, because these are only year bearers. This is not this is a fractal expression of the wave spell, in which each of the white squares is a wizard, each of the blue squares is a storm, each of the yellow squares is a seed, and each of the red squares is a moon. Those are what is called the year bearers, which are the energies that always within the synchronic order will open the 13-month cycle. And right now we are at the heart of that cycle of 13 years that will close on the out of time 2032. So in the year, the last cycle of this year will be New Zero Cycle 1.44, that will start on July 26, 2031, and will come to a close on July 25th, 2032. And then we will finish that cycle of 13 years. That's why we are saying that this cycle of the Yellow Resonant Seed is so important, because it's connected to the closing of a cycle of 13 and the middle of another cycle of 13. So it's really resonating from the center of the 1320 matrix at these different scales, and allowing us to experience different qualities of it. Because let's say that within this map, we are in a process of refining, because it's a wide cycle. It starts in the magnetic wizard, and it ends on the white cosmic wizard. So it's a cycle of refining, but at the same time is a cycle of refining our ability to become the earth wizards that Jose always make emphasis that we are all earth wizards. Because the earth wizards is really the human attuned to the 1320 frequency, able to track these cycles of times at different scales, and connect with the noosphere, so that we can at some point experience timelessness, which is that quality of the wizard. Is a 13-year of timelessness. And let's remember that according to that other fractal lens, the cycle that went from 2000 to 2013 was also a wizard cycle. It was the way spell of the wizard, but we just simply assign to each of those 13 kings of that way spell that goes from king 14 to king 26 a year. It's just really using the fractal lens of the synchronic order to perceive the different layers of resonance within the system that allows us to really appreciate the depth and the beauty of this time science, because it's really an emerging time science, and Jose basically left the foundations, but we are trying to build new ways or new layers of over those foundations that are respectful and that are in resonance with the original teachings without disrespecting the way that we were tracking it. Remember also that the expression of the 13 kin or as a way spell of like a what is called the planetary service way spell, started in the year 1997, in which one kin equals one moon. So 13 moons, it was the first cycle of the dragon, and then the next 13 moons, each moon is one kin, which is what we explain in depth on the new almanac. We really go make a synthesis of everything that we explain here. We didn't touch on the Venus cycles, but we are really showing that this application of the fractal lens that Jose started in the year 1997 with the one kin equals one moon count can be expanded, and every 20 years we complete a cycle of 260 moons, and every 5 years we complete a cycle of 260 heptads weeks, and we can track those cycles according to the harmonic module to assign to each of those units of time, days, weeks, moons, or years, a kin. And in that way, the system becomes, the hologram becomes really scalable and complete. And this is where we are right now, the first moon of the 13 moon year, each moon 4 weeks. And in the next slide, we can see how within that's fractal lens of 13 moons equals 13 kin, we enter the 13 kin cycle of the serpent, which is life force, survive, and instinct. We have we mentioned briefly in a couple of episodes ago the importance of this cycle because it has 10 special days called galactic activation portals. So starting the next moon, the lunar moon, we will enter in 10 moons that are special because they are within the harmonic module. They correspond to galactic activation portal, which is the column that we see highlighted on the right. So on the left, we map those 13 moons as 13 kin 105 to kin 117. At the center, we map those 13 kin within the structure of the castle, the 52 units. So basically, this is the start of a cycle of 4 years that will go from 2025 to 2029. And this is the red serpent initiates the cycle. Then after the serpent will be the mirror wave spell. So next year, if we are still doing this podcast, it will be the mirror wave spell, which is the same wave spell that we are now transiting. And the next year will be the monkey wave spell, which will be the cycle after this one. And the last one, the fourth, 2028 to 2029, will be the magnetic seed, will be the magnetic moon. So basically, the cycles that we are now navigating on a daily basis are a way to map the future in terms of the fractal quality on the one kin equals one moon count. I hope that makes sense, because since this blue cycle of 52 kin that we are transiting is at the core of the soul kin matrix, also is the blue castle of burning. We can see on the next slide on the next slide is of course the synthesis of this moon. Is we are asking ourselves, what is our purpose? The magnetic tone is the tone of purpose, is an invitation to attract and unify through the life force, the instinct, and the capacity of surviving that the serpent has. And this cycle of 13 moons will go from moon, the red magnetic serpent moon, to the red cosmic earth moon, so that we can start to really become familiar with that lens, because in the weaving of these different scales, we find more synchronicities and more treasures, and we already covered some of them in the prior episodes. But basically, the golden proportion is always at the threshold of important junctions within the 13 moon cycle, and this moon that we are currently navigating. In the next slide, we can see how it goes from July 26 Gregorian to August 22nd, which will be on the seed wave spell, the 8th day of the seed wave spell. We mapped here in color the colors of the wave spell, that the gray at the top. We are today on day 3 of the cycle of the white magnetic mirror. Then we will have the monkey wave spell, kin 131 to kin 143. That goes from the 8th day of this moon to the 20th day of this moon. Then on day 21 to day 28, we will be navigating the cycle of the yellow magnetic seed. And on the left, we can see the same filter of the kin apply to the heptads, or the cycles of 7 days. So since we have 52 heptads in 1 year, is basically one of the 5 castles of the soul kin matrix. And this first week corresponds to kin 157. So basically we are starting, this is the first kin of the yellow castle. And so basically we started a yellow seed year at the start of the yellow castle. So that's the yellow, as we were mentioning on another episode, is a time for ripening and for really collecting the fruits of everything that we have done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Calling that forward. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a big universal thank you. Universal thank you.
Yeah. And in the next slide, because we want to really go with the interview, we already extended a little bit on this one, because it's the beginning of the year, and it's really good to put everything into perspective and to be able to travel forward and backward in time to really get some perspective and of the importance of the cycle that we are now transiting. That closing of a cycle of 13 years, the resonance of the cycle of 13 years, and here we are at the resonant column, or the seventh column of the Solkin, making this conscious. So this cycle of 52 units that goes from kin 118 to from kin 105 to kin 156 is the blue castle of burning, and as we can see, it's at the center of the middle of the 260 unit matrix. So this is really an intense cycle, because we have the two waste belts that hold 10 galactic activation portals, and the two columns, the green columns that we see on the two sides. And we are now navigating what is called the mystic column, and in the next slide we see the waste belt, and the last day of this waste belt, we are entering the mystic void of the mystic column. That mystic void is the 33rd harmonic. A harmonic is a cycle of 4 kin, and in this case it's called the mystic void because it's the only cycle of 4 kin 129, kin 120, kin 129, 130, 131, and 132, which is the last 2 days of this waste belt and the first 2 days of the monkey waste belt. Those are right at the heart of the Solkin matrix, like the navel of the Solkin. And the last day, as we enter that center of the center, is precisely the white cosmic dog, which is the energy of the heart. So such a beautiful analogy, just that we enter the heart of the Solkin with that energy of compassion and love of the dog. So everything that we are doing since the art of time is really connecting with that transcending point at the end, which is what we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, is entering the heart, and from that point bring that flowering of consciousness, which is the energy. The heart of the cycle of 13 units is the seed, the flowering. So the year starting at the flowering of the heart, and on the next slide, which would be the last one, this mystic column will started on July 23rd, 2025, kin 121, the 27th day of the cosmic moon, and will close on the 17th day of this magnetic moon on August 11. So that is like a birth canal, and it's like we are really, like you mentioned at the beginning, we are flowing through that birth canal downstream to be reborn, and we have to go through the heart to be reborn, through the heart of the Solkin. And I think that with this, we can now give thanks and welcome our guests, because it's going to be like a, how long did we talk to her? Like an hour?
An hour. It was a good, it was worth it though. I mean, it's definitely a very timely conversation. I would say it's worth tuning in. If you need to take a break, come back and listen to it later. But either way, tap in. We appreciate love everybody in the chat they're having a great conversation in the chat as well, just dropping in, and everybody's sharing different insights that they have. relative to what we're hearing and listening about. So this is incredible. And yeah, let's
Wonderful.
go ahead without further ado. Thank you all for staying the course with us here. We're going to go ahead and tune in with the Time is Art section and the interview with Kin 144, our dear sister down in Costa Rica. Oh, yeah. Okay, folks are staying on. That's right. We give thanks. Also meant to give a special shout out to Delia Sky, tried and true Kin 5, for her tones. They definitely help set the tone, and that she's a part of that wonderful weaving that Ishel produces when we have a chance to do the opening transmissions. So I just wanted to mention that. arctarablog.com for the folks that want to learn more about the tones. I want to encourage people to check that out as well. You can find that link in the show notes, okay? So we give thanks. Hey, let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
In Lakesh, and welcome at the sound of that thunder happening out there in Tulum. We are grateful for the presence of our beloved sister Kin 144, Alisha Young Hall here in the frequency in the field, and just grateful to have your presence on the planet at this auspicious time. Thank you for joining us for this episode 43 of the Galactic Spin Podcast, and welcome. You're in Costa Rica. Tell us all about it.
Oh, it's an honor to be here with my star brothers, feeling the reunion. My heart is just so warm, and just riding in this, seed year, feeling the essence of what's to flower for all of us as we survived the storm. Is everybody okay over there? It was a hell of a storm, I think. And yeah. So we organized in order to catalyze, and now we're just here, in the flowering. Let's reap the benefits of and continue to plant the seeds. But yeah, I'm here in the Galactic Zero Point, is what I call Costa Rica. I came here 7 years ago, right after a near-death experience in Austin, Texas, and was shocked into the numerical coding frequency of our reality and in the prophecy of the new time and the coming together of a divine order, of a divine plan, of a cosmic blueprint, of a galactic renaissance. And so it's been quite a transformational process as I've come to this physical location, which, as we all know, there's locations and grids all over the earth that, just when you land there, you receive information and memory. And so it's been an unfolding over a 7-year cycle since I landed here and found the Gene Keys Human Design and then the Galactic Maya transmission that I was passionate about. Actually, I landed in the community that I arrived in on Kin number 131, Magnetic Monkey. It was like the center of the center of the center. And I've just been studying the Telectanon prophecy and all things ever since then. And mostly it's, the surrender experiment has led me into, okay, I'm in a future timeline now. I barely exist online. I don't exist in monetary systems. I'm in a constant stream of nature. I have no idea what day or time it is, except that I do like to add up numerical coded frequencies and add up geometries of beings that come into the field so we can remember the divine plan and the galactic mission together. And it's led me to this point of feeling like we're in nothing short of a divine intervention here. And we should remember that we are the divine that are intervening when we even have the idea or the memory. We have the capacity to remember. This is actually Gene Key 33 is the revelation, right? To remember the golden age, the return to Eden, the cosmic return, and heaven on earth and Shambhala and all these things that we've dreamed of. And then at the same time, as we're in the 38th Sirius cycle, it makes me think of the warrior of light. And it's like, we've got to preserve and protect what it is that we have here to ensure. And we got to make sure that our investments are in the right things, like organic nature and humans, to make sure that we actually do. We're in the rewrite of the fall of Atlantis going on right here. So we want to make sure we're just in like clarity, honor, integrity. And while I honor my brothers and sisters that still live in the world, I would say, you know, I want to hold that mother womb space for people to like check out every once in a while, get out of there, unplug from there, remember what it's like to not be plugged in, so that you can remember things that a machine can't tell you, right? When you're connected directly with the mother, when you're connected directly with the organic, when you're unplugged from all the busyness, is when those divine revelations come through. And so I'm trying, you know, this warrior nature in me wants to like fight and take down systems and protect the people. And then like, even as I'm just talking here, it's like, all right, just hold that safe space for people to come, like get into the womb a little bit, you know, unplug from that matrix thing and get those revelations, get clarity within yourself so that you know you're divinely guided, you're directly connected to source as you know, understand your mission here in these very important times and why we have all incarnated at this moment.
Wonderful. Thank you. And so many things come up as you speak and you share with us, you know, digital detox, for example. And again, as you mentioned, the galactic 0 point of Costa Rica, what it means to be in Costa Rica. I also want to ask you specifically, being that you're very aware of the gene keys and the code of the gene keys and others, talk to us a little bit about this gene key 31 that we're currently in, this quality of humility as that civic quality, and how that really applies, especially being that it always escorts the galactic new year. This is a frequency that is, and it also serves to stabilize the beginning of the biogenetic new year, gene key 41, right? It's in relationship with that as a programming partner. So talk to us a little bit about what that means to you or what really resonates with you.
Yeah, and the important thing about gate 41 is in tropical astrology, it's in Pluto, right? So we've got the start codon, like the ring of origins, the beginning of a new type of DNA sitting in Pluto right now, just kind of, you know, spiraling. So there is that death and that rebirth and that transformation. I'm a Scorpio, so I'm all about this death and rebirth thing, you know, this phoenix thing. You got to burn it all down, you know, to become it. And so, yeah, the 31 that we're in right now is actually, it's called sounding your truth, and it's connected to the throat. It's also connected to and Gene Keys is starting to talk a little bit more about the codon rings, which I'm very excited about, because that was something I was diving into that mystery from the minute it came into my field, but there wasn't a lot out there. And now I understand why, because it's a living code. It was being birthed as the synarchy was being birthed as we were starting to live it, the codon rings and the understanding of this collective field of DNA coming together, and this transformation of a group incarnation, you know, a group soul incarnation was going through the field, kind of preparing the way for humanity. And so, but with the 31, it's about sounding your truth, and it's connected also with 62. It's called the ring of no return. And in this particular codon ring, it's when you go beyond the causal plane of the heart and you actually die into the Buddhic plane. And the voice of the point of no return is when you move beyond your own personal individual expression and you're bringing in more of the collective field. And so everything that you speak is not of your own and not for yourself, but simply the voice of the transmission of the order of God coming through. And so, and with that, you know, the shadow of the 31 is arrogance. But what he says there, Richard Red says about the arrogance, it isn't always what we might think. In fact, and then even with the humility, there could be like, you know, what I'm learning is that for the sake of wanting to be humble, I've been humble to a fault, because maybe I have some truths to share, but I haven't been, because I'm like, well, everybody's got their own way and you don't want to impose your stuff on anybody, and it's free will, and like you just kind of almost humbly like take, and then it's like, but wait a minute, take care of yourself, speak your truth, be who you are, stop compromising, don't keep doing shit you don't agree with, don't be a slave if you don't want to be a slave, and recognize that you might be one if you're doing a bunch of stuff that you actually don't believe in and want to do. You know, be free, fight for your freedom. What does it look like? You know, and so I think I'm just coming out of the closet in my own passion about these topics too, and I guess expressing what I'm learning in that humility field of just kind of disappearing from the world and being offline so much, and only working a little bit with people in the field in front of me, but realizing like, yeah, we were just talking before about when you sit in the forest and you're in the nature all the time, and then you're like, but check back in with everybody and make sure like, hey, are you guys making sure the water's good? Like, is your water pure and clean? Are you taking care of yourself? You know, how's your mind? Are you eating clean? Are you taking care of this temple of God that you were given? This incarnation as the divine? Are you taking care of this vehicle right here, this starship, this mothership? You know, are you getting pulled into narratives and things that are draining your life force? You know, so anyways, the 31, yeah, it's about sounding your truth. And it is about, it complements this 41. It's the beginning of something new. We're talking about galactic intelligence. We're talking about cosmic consciousness. We're talking about a knowledge directly from the cosmos that is so beyond anything we've been taught in history. Because in history, we're being taught like sickness, illness, you know, viruses, plagues, diseases, wars. No, we're quantum leaping into a new birth right now. There's no history to be replayed in this new time. We're actually birthing something brand new. So there's no war in it. There's no virus in it. There's no plague in it. And there's no vaccines. In fact, that is where I get a little bit like this activism about sounding my truth now. It's like I have been able to thankfully dodge the bullet. I knew when I birthed River, I didn't want her to be vaccinated. And then the aggressive pursuit that we've been in contact with in Costa Rica with officials here has been like, dang, what is my job as a warrior of light and as a sounder of truth to see that there are many other children that are being birthed into the field right now that might also want to protect their DNA from these things? And how do we make sure that we have the safe spaces and places? And if it's got to get to laws and protocols, how do we go that far? How do we change laws? How do we make it to where people are actually free to make their own choices, right? And so, yeah.
That's a big conversation right there. It's one I love. I love to have that conversation. You know, what comes up for me as well with what you were sharing is, as the gift of Gene Key 31 is leadership, then you're actually summoning the leader within you, being the leader of your own life effectively. Like there's no leader out there to follow. You truly have to follow that pole star in your own centered consciousness. Like, what is that guide for you? And know that it comes from within. And I think that's a big part of this transition as well, where we've moved from putting the onus of leadership on people outside of ourselves to now actually stepping into and claiming our autonomous role of self-governance and self to the degree that the self is also the community, but certainly appreciating the self as self-initiating, and taking that responsibility. And that's what I think is also very much alive in what you're saying about really having the agency of speaking your truth, and particularly through your actions. And if that is in the way you speak of relative to the medical programs that are constantly promoted towards us, and in many cases, you know, people are forced to engage those programs. I definitely know we're at a turning point, a turn of the spiral, as we like to say, where that option is something we don't have to choose. We don't have to do that. And in asserting that, we also have to come together. We have to unify in that assertion too, so that the more strength we gather in this field of those who are of the the new renaissance, or this new era, this new paradigm. This, some might call it a resistance in some cases. Sure, that's one way to characterize it. You know, there's certain things that, you know, obviously I feel, as you mentioned, we're here on mission. We've come in here. We know we have certain responsibilities. We have orders, so to speak, from the higher order of what our mission may be to fulfill. And it can look like resistance to some, even though it is more of, as you said, space holding. Really, that's the mission, is really holding the field. And as we connect and anchor in that grid, we're stabilized, we're more strengthened to be a greater space holder for this transformation happening. And so I always love speaking with you, because all these things do. I'm a reflector as well in the human design. So I have the joy of sampling the energy of whatever's in front of me relative to this consciousness all the time with Rubén as well. It's just part of my journey and how I experience everything that is happening. Because I also reflect the other. I live in LA, y'all. So, you know, there's a lot being reflected out here. But that being said, I know like that's one of my roles, is to ground this along with Ishel and our family. Now, do we want to be here permanently? No. In fact, we know since I got here, we've been talking about leaving, though for whatever reason, we're here now and we're meant to be here. And as we are here, we're also finding others who are stepping into their own leadership, stepping into their own capacity to make decisions that are against the grain, so to speak, of the status quo and this whole historical context. As we know, we're leaving that at this point 13 tunes ago. If not even that, maybe a whole generation ago at this point, and some. So we are absolutely in this new, I often describe it as a suspended animation space, you know, where we're in this major migration of consciousness out of the depths of ignorance into the heights of awareness and remembering. And it is quite a process, y'all. So, Rubén, I'd love to invite you to jump in and inquire or share your insights as well.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, it's such an honor to have Alisha again. We have been having conversations over the last 4 years probably, and witnessing each other grow and go through many challenges within the 1260 matrix of control. So just honoring her for being such a steward of that seed, the original seed of divinity that we all hold.
The magnetic seed.
Yeah, the magnetic seed. And precisely, since we are entering the year of the resonant seed, and she's the magnetic seed, and some people probably are here new to your journey, and you were mentioning at the beginning that you became really interested in the prophecy of the telectonon, which is coded by King 144. So what tell us a little bit about that journey of learning that you are the magnetic seed in King 144, and what brought that into your consciousness. How was that a complement to the gene keys, or how was that merging of these two amazing systems and tools that are helping us navigate the current reality here on Earth?
Wow, that's a good one. And you know, telectonon in gematria is 131. So it's magnetic monkey. Well, you know, when my friend from Russia, she's Electric Star, she introduced me to the Galactic Maya, and I saw the number 144, and I was like, I've heard that number before. And I immediately thought of Revelations in the Bible. That's the first thing that it brought me to. I'd always felt a connection to this, and I was just cracking open the gene keys as well, which was connected to the 7 sacred seals and the 144,000. And so I was like feeling, yes, I felt a mission. As soon as it's just like they say, you go and you unlock your statement, your galactic mission, and you're just like, all of a sudden it's a galactivation. Shit's gonna hit the fan. Like, you're gonna see what happens. So that's why I always love, the first thing I do when I meet anyone is immediately decode them. I need to know your digits. I want to know who you are and why you're here and what we're here to do together. And so it's just always an immediate initiation, because I know what I'm here to do. So I know that anyone's coming into the field, we're not just coming to have a superficial hi-bye conversation, right? We might not ever see each other again, but they're going to be informed of their multidimensional mission. They might put it down for a while and come back to it. But anyways, then I started learning about telectonon prophecy, and that's actually how I started learning about G7 and the United Nations. Now, I didn't know about stuff like that. I was just like clueless. I was living in the US back in the day, making money, working for Dell, paying the bills, got the house, got the car, making it work. And then all of a sudden I had this near death, and I was like, I stopped thinking about money. I wanted to end war. I wanted to know, why is there war on the planet? It's like this big, why are children getting cancer? And it was like, okay, now these questions are coming up. So then what do you do about it? And it's like surrender. And next thing you know, you're in the middle of Costa Rica getting your galactic kin. And then you're learning about the G7 and the United Nations, and then you have a child and you're getting chased by the popo to vaccinate, and you're running from, and then you're like leaving behind your identity, like, and then you're just like, oh, the United Nations is based in Costa Rica, and they've been here since the 50s, along with Pfizer and along with all the chemical companies, and actually Costa Rica is considered like Pura Vida, but it's actually one of the top chemical, pesticide, poisonous, so then but then you're learning your spirituality, and you're like, everything is one and everything is perfect and neutralized polarities. But then you're like, there's some dark forces out there. There's some fucked up shit going on out there. Like, who do you trust? Who's running the world here? Like, who's taking care of the people here? What's going on with these monetary systems? What's going on with social engineering? What's going on with, weather manufacturing and floods? Like, I used to believe it was all just the mother nature, but now I've got some questions. And so I've actually been I'd say very quickly after the near death and coming to this portal, I ascended to heaven quick. And it's fun, and I love it, and it's blissful, and it's ecstasy, and that is our birthright. Bliss and ecstasy, that's my philosophy. Bliss and ecstasy are our birthright. We are eternal, immortal beings. We're not here to die. We're not here to suffer. And I want to honor everybody and the choices that they get to make for themselves. And within that, it was like I wanted to stay in heaven, but I kept feeling like there were people saying, it's hard over here. Like, it's hard down here. Like, I can't make it. It's hard to pay the bills. It's hard to eat. It's hard to, it's hard to sleep. It's hard not to take my life. Like, I'm seeing it all out there. I'm like, okay, cool. You're just chilling up there in bliss and ecstasy, but where are your brothers and your sisters? And so it's been like a reality of coming down and thinking of like, why is the world like it is? Why does poverty exist? What kind of systems are we in right now where it's even been possible to get this far, that we've all been silent and agreed to what's unfolding here? That people are falling in love with AI girlfriends and taking their lives because everyone's lonely, because we don't have connection. And so, and everybody just wants community, and they actually and they don't want to be, they don't need to be proving their worth all the time, working all the time, exhausted all the time, paying the bills all the time. It's like, I was always able to keep a pretty happy face in that world too. I've always been like that positive one, but it's not easy to be positive for people right now. That's what I'm seeing out there. It's like, okay, power to the people, do your meditations, drink your mushroom tea. But seriously, we need to come together in these times. I'm feeling that more than ever, that we've got to gather tribes. I'm thinking of Gate 8, which is the holding together. I'm thinking of the 50, and Jose Arguelles would always bring up the 48, the 49, and the 50, because the 48 was the well. He talks about this in the Earth Ascending video that I love. It's like so vintage. He was talking about this stuff before Human Design and Gene Keys ever came out. He was talking about these I Ching codes, 48, 49, 50, the well and the cauldron, and the 49 in between it, which is the rebirth and the fire, the revolution. Yeah. And it's like, but the 50 is the cauldron, right? And it's like, it's that big old thing that's just got all the contain. It's the fire. And we have to, that's the powerful thing about fire, is like, you can go up to a flame and you can get a flame from that fire, but that fire doesn't go lower, right? That fire is flaming. So it's like enough fire to start 1,000,000 fires. It doesn't take from the fire. And that's that endless fire that we need to make sure that we're always connected to, that we never lose our spark, you know, and so that we can be infused with that energy in whatever we do. And for some, this is the reality that we should not look away from. We are being called to live different lives for ourselves and our children. And so I'm learning to be patient, that everyone has their own dharma, karma, and wherever they're called to go, but there is a migration taking place. And so if you're feeling that call, even if it might feel a little scary, don't deny what's being called. We need the leaders to come together to actually build this thing for real. People have been talking about community forever. There's a ton of them out there. They mostly don't work still. I mean, I know there's some great ones that have kind of made it happen, but there's a little more there's a little more structure and foundation and energetics to put together to really make this model of the synarchy, Gate 44, truly work. And so I do believe that that's one of the processes. The Gate 44 talks about the science of migration and beings coming together, and why beings will pull together and come to certain locations and grid points on the planet. And bringing the fractal together. So there is like the synarchy specifically is about that move beyond the hierarchy. It's talking about more of a governance type of system taking place. It's more of a synarchy working together. And so I see like some kind of calling, a mission that's meant to happen. And I'm like throwing out that clarion call, because I've kind of been in the patience field about it, but where we actually come together and do something. And so there's minds, there's brilliant minds, intelligences, gifts, and resources that are needed for those things. But ultimately to start to imagine creating realities that are sustainable beyond monetary systems. How could we, while we still are working with this thing called money, create sustainable realities beyond monetary systems, especially in the idea that there's a threat of like, don't hire humans, you know, robots can replace your jobs. Like, okay, so what are we here for? I want to hold on to the real sacred stuff, like the plants and the water and my human body. And I want to see human bodies as much as possible. And I want to see trees and water as much as possible. You know, keep it simple to like, I can get pretty out there and crazy with the way I think about things, but ultimately it's like, I want to take down the Vatican. I want to take down the United Nations. I want to fight. I want to, you know, it's like, okay, but wait a minute. Like, what are the answers to those solutions? Love, of course, is an answer, but also don't temper that warrior. I think it's needed right now, even if it's just for a second of like, I care about myself. I care about the people. I care about the earth. I care about the water. What do we all care about? What do we stand for? Do we stand for more of these power plants and AI things that are being popped up all over the place in Texas and here and there? And like, do we know what's really going on with how AI is impacting nature? Because this is what Jose was bringing in the technosphere, right? So these are the questions and the things we need to start talking a little more about. Like, okay, technosphere, noosphere, biosphere, what's it look like? What is what? Where are you at? What are you supporting? You know, what are you building? Where are you going? What are you getting comfortable in? Are you in the techno, bio, noosphere? Where are you? Where are you going? How do we? Yeah, and that's why we're all coming together, right? It's just to start having these types of conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this is very much a prelude to this 2027 timeline in the Gene Keys with the Gene Key 55, freedom. I mean, what you're talking about is, to me, like that's what we're moving toward, that expression of freedom from a place where we are more united, where we're also more connected with each other, as you were saying, and not to the exclusion necessarily of technology, but not connected through technology only, like through human connection, as you said. I mean, thankfully, in this moment, we have this technology to facilitate this conversation, share this transmission with the world for those who have the ears and the eyes to see and hear it, right? You know, that's a wonderful thing. And it's also important for us to have human connection. So to physically be able to be in Costa Rica, or to connect like we did on the Day Out of Time with relatives here in LA that we just met for the very first time in person, which was so remarkable. So, we absolutely love, that call to connection. And in fact, when we started this whole journey of these 52 episodes, we set out, the very first episode was around the theme of breaking free from the zero-sum game. That game that you just described in all those various ways of the technosphere and all the mechanisms that function in that particular way, because we do recognize that framework is effectively a race to the bottom, like of its own bottom, and we can see it bottoming out. And we also comprehend how the calendars have impacted our consciousness. We've been stymied collectively. So a lot of what we've been doing is making those things conscious so that people can begin to make their lives sacred again and truly make art, meaning show up and create the solutions. Like, let's be the solutions that we're talking about. So I love what you're doing and how you're anchoring, again, really holding space, but also helping, I would say, neutralize the field in Costa Rica with others there, because as you mentioned, I mean, obviously with the UN having its Peace University or whatever it's termed there in Costa Rica, that's an interesting thing. So, being that you are there, I think that's very significant. We've been navigating the golden intersection of timelines reality that suggests that all of these systems are in one form or another being reharmonized. They're being literally leveled up by the collective, this wave, this rising, cresting wave, I believe, that's happening right now. And it's not just here on Earth, it's also galactically supported, it's energetically being supported from the stellar array also. We're not alone in this galactic transformation, fortunately. And so for those who are tapping in and connecting in with the Earth and being receptive to the divine intervention, as you mentioned as well, and being that this is a part of the divine intervention, all of us like seeds beginning to blossom and bloom into the fullness of our respective purpose. I mean, it's a very, very powerful window. So thank you for bringing those things to consciousness, because it's important that we do talk about the, the deleterious effects. I know that's a big word, but it's like the degradation that is happening in an ongoing way at a rapid rate, though many people find themselves so caught up in it, they can't actually perceive it for what is actually happening. And so unless you can step out of it adequately to get a real perspective on what it is, and really tap in with those ancestors and the star people who will also help clarify your perspective on what's happening, it becomes a challenging thing. So we have to have conversations like this, because otherwise what happens is we contribute to the separation, right? Because there's really only one of us here anyway. So even if those are parts of ourselves that may be turned off or shut down or going through layers of trauma and, whatever is covering over their ability to perceive with a clearer vision of what's actually happening or what maybe they're agreeing to participate in, it's a very harrowing time with that in mind. Though I do think speaking truth to power, as you said, again, in this Gene Key 31 is a part of that, of being able to hold those conversations with earnestness. Because it's something a friend of mine, King Etznab, was mentioning earlier, the truth is, it's going to stand on its own. So when we have to speak these truths, difficult as they may be, we have to speak them anyway, because that's a part of the medicine. The medicine isn't going to always be sweet. It usually never is, actually. It's the outcome of after having received the medicine, then it gets pretty sweet. But you got to go through it to get to it. And so speaking the truth is very, very significant now more than ever. And so I just want to honor that for you, but honor that for all of us, because that's something I feel we're being imbued with now. As we run into the contrast often where we have to navigate, for example, the criticisms that come along with picking up the mantle of Arguelles's work and presenting his interpretations to a modern world that's completely stymied and stuck in the Matrix back in '99. Literally, most people didn't make it past the Matrix. That's another thing King Etznab mentions when he speaks about this subject, is that we got stuck in that time loop that trapped everybody back in 99. And he says to that point, there's been really nothing new generated since then, not from that historical world. It hasn't, nothing new has been really generated in that sense. So it is important that we do speak these truths and have these kind of conversations and feel that is as spiritual as being in our bliss nature, which we can return to like that, because it never really leaves. Though it is important for the Kali and for that warrior and for the clarity to come through. And I think people are all the better for it, actually. I certainly know those lightning touches of truth that have changed me and helped me course correct have been, incredibly important. I noticed we're getting a little bit of static on the line. I'm not sure.
It just started to rain here. I'm going to close these doors.
Okay. Thank you. No, thank you. Wow. Hey, Kawak, the rain. Come on, let's bring the rain. You all having the rain? I know we have sunshine right now, but hey.
No, you actually had to mute the microphone because the thunders were like really
big. That's fun.
And
I think this is great because this is a demonstration to people of the reality of what's happening. We're in this nature and natural experience, which includes varying expressions of nature through weather, for example. Yeah. So I want to honor that because these are the waters of life that make it possible.
Yeah.
If it's not for the light in the water.
Yes, and what was coming also for me while listening to Alisha speak so bravely and so passionately about what is going on, and finding like a reflection also on what we all probably have to go through with our own circles of influence, especially our families. For her being a mother that has a child that is being risen in that new frequency, but you still have family in the US that are still having to go through all these traps of the 1260. How has been that journey for you of just holding that big space of love and compassion for what is happening there, and for your kids who are at different ages and that are building their consciousness in a very different environment?
Yeah, this is such a good question because, so I came here married with my family and thought I was leaving the whole thing behind with my American dream family, and then they went back a few years back. And it's actually the very thing that keeps me alive there. Like, it keeps me remembering that what's going on there. And it shows me the struggle, the materialism. Like, we pretty much dematerialized coming to Costa Rica and, left behind TV and like cleaned out our 4,000 square foot house and like got rid of all the stuff. And then we were literally just with some suitcases in the jungle, right? For a couple years, like eye through the needle. And then as soon as they got back to the US, it was materialism. It's like, as soon as you get a house, you got to fill it with stuff. And next thing you know, you got closets overflowing again, just like that. And so it's such it brings me into the awareness that it's not so easy to try to maintain a level of simplicity in the middle of a non-simple world. It's like you're sold everything and it's too easy and it's so convenient. It's like, I've had to go, I'm living in quite the opposite state of that. And in the same, it's like, in my mind, I think it's the answer to everything. Everybody just leaves all these crazy jobs and bills and debts, and they're fake anyways, and like returns to nature and returns to like the human, and then I get it. There's responsibilities out there. There's this whole structure that we're literally keeping alive, actually. That's the question. What are we keeping alive? What are we feeding and keeping alive that is not who we are, that we don't even agree? Are we supporting the very things we resist? Are we making money on the things we're anti? Are we making money on a medical on an AI and a medical biotech field that we don't agree with, right? Like I had to let it all go just to be in full integrity of that, like if I don't believe in it, I'm not touching it. I'm not endorsing it. I'm not contributing to it. I'm not keeping it alive. So, I mean, those are invitations that we start to create realities away from those worlds. I know I'm on the extreme side. I'm pretty anti, of course, the medical establishment. I'm not impressed. I haven't seen anything so far that it's done that's supporting, the expansion of humanity's health. And that has been another thing that I want to share really quick about this revelation of time and the idea of how our DNA can't turn on to this next level until we are in the incubator of the no-time space. And I was just being shown the other night, super easy. It was like, okay, for that DNA to turn on, because I remembered when I first received the book Bringers of the Dawn, teachings of the Palladians, and it was talking about the idea that humanity was born with the 2-strand DNA, and the rest was junk. But really, what is that DNA, right? That's how my whole journey kind of started. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm a 2-strand DNA human, but I'm really a 12-strand DNA. Oh, in the 2-strand DNA, you're sick, you have viruses, you have vaccines, in the immortal DNA, right? So you're turning on it. Yes, baby?
Can I watch a show?
No, baby, you need to talk to Papa, okay? Thank you. So we're going to watch, River doesn't usually get to watch technology actually, but my friend who came over to let me use this computer, she downloaded the movie A Wrinkle in Time. And I mean, it's just the perfect, that movie changed my life. It literally shows that they're trying to figure out the Tesseract. And then the dude's just feeling so much love that he explodes into another dimension. It was like, he was a quantum physicist. It's a perfect movie to watch. So anyway, she's excited to watch A Wrinkle in Time after this. And really that feels like what I have been in fact, what I was catapulted in on kin number 142 when I had my near-death experience. I went from living at 9 to 5, entrepreneur, bills, mortgages, and taxes type of life into none of those things, right? And so it's a whole nother dimensional shift for sure. So I know I'm on the extreme, but to get back to your question, what you're saying, Ruben, yeah, I had to learn that I was building a new creation, that I was on a future timeline, building and knitting that timeline for my family, that I was doing and creating with many others that were coming together, having an understanding that we were building and creating the new timelines. And this is where I've had to work with the non-attachment of I have to do what I'm doing here in order to make sure that even exists in the future, because we're rectifying timelines here. So, you don't get paid money for this type of job, right? It's you're building the new creation. And it's crazy because sometimes I don't know where I get my next fruit from. I'm not logging into bank accounts with Wi-Fi passwords. I live only by the generosity of the heart of other beings, which has put me in I used to be rather successful in my life, making good amounts of money, being able to buy whatever I could. I really needed to go down into the field of what could be perceived as poverty, but not of the spirit, to feel what it's like and to give a fuck about everybody that's going through any kind of struggle that doesn't have enough, in the reality that our current world is not sustainable for the human race at this moment in time. And so there is actually this okay, wait a minute, free flow and surrender to a point, right? No resistance to a point. And then the resistance is, if I'm going to resist anything, what would it be? Why would it be that? And, so I've hopped around a little bit because I know I was talking about time and DNA too. And I think I might have already touched on that when River came in for that. But I know we're in the middle of this bridging of worlds. And I know I'm on the other side. I'm having to be okay with that. I know I can't go back, in fact. I can't even... But I'm over on the Rainbow Bridge and I'm come on, I want to see more people over this bridge. And you can go back. I always tell people, come scoop up the celestial waters and then bring them home. Bring them too, but touch the space, but get there. no, remember this space because you might have forgot, because there's just so much static and there's so much busy and there's so much noise that, and what I'm having, I do work with responsible use of psychedelics as well. And what I'm realizing with people is they're starting to be able to, they're sharing with me their experiences in the US and almost the grids that are there that they can't get out of. Like they can't even, they'll get back and they'll be like, I'm just going to visit for a minute and then I'm going to get out of there. It's like really two worlds, like force fields, right? And electromagnetic frequency is a thing. And so then it's like, okay, don't fall victim to the way electromagnetic frequencies work, but be aware that there are grids that are impacting the way that you can access information and data. And then, okay, now we need to come into how do we build the body of light? How do we build our body of light? How do we build our rainbow light body? How do we build our ascension body? How do we build our body of glory that has gone through the eye of the needle, that is raptured, that has purified the lower astral body so that we can bring the higher heavens down? And that's Gene Key 22 in the 7 sacred seals, going back to the 144,000 7 sacred seals. Gene Key 22 is really about that. And really one of the biggest nuggets that I take out of the gene keys, the 22 and the 55 are kind of the master codes. But there is a process of, you know, the body of purification, the body of light, the return, the redemption. It's all kind of written in there and it's quite beautiful. And I mean, I would love to be sharing more of that information with people. We're just kind of sitting over here waiting for our soul family to come that wants in families. Yes, we're going. No, baby, never. We're gonna watch Wrinkle in Time later, okay?
No, I want to see Ned.
I want you to go see Papa now.
No, I don't.
So
I want to see Wrinkle in Time.
hopefully it's not too staticky out there. The rain calmed down already. It just kind of came and went through, but
It was.
I can let one of you guys talk.
It was a welcome. It was a welcome guest. Both your daughter and the rain. So yeah, absolutely, absolutely. A wrinkle in time. What an apt metaphor for this entire journey, huh? Of us all, like I was saying, collapsing to the center, the heart center. There you are at 0 point, one of those major nodes on the planet. I mean, just amazing to just make this connection. In Lakesh, greetings.
Is it in the cash?
Hi.
She just got the scissors and cut her hair the other day. I was like, but it's, you know, the thing that all kids end up doing.
Yeah.
She knows most people's galactic signatures. She knows the animals connected to the gene keys. So she's always like, you know, who is this person? Oh, they're a warrior. They're a seed. Yeah.
Hi.
So she's.
Well, I'm a world bridger, and Ruben's a Skywalker.
Yes.
So we're happy to meet you.
Hold on, I wanna make sure she can hear. They said he's a world bridger, River, and he's a Skywalker. Are you hiding now?
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, so we've been having fun, you know, just that's the other priority that I put, having 4 children, right? I have my children in the US are almost 18, 14, and 9.
Yeah.
And so I went through a mothering phase for so many years in the traditional United States and like not really having a perception of spirituality or consciousness yet. It really evolved after my initiation when I delivered during my near death. And so River's been growing up in a different type of environment. You know, it's completely nature-based, water every day, technology is not a thing. She's trying to grasp onto it. Like literally right now, I see her trying to get it, but it's like, it's easy to do when you're in an environment when you're not surrounded by it. But I understand, like I knew when my family was going back to the US that they were going to get sucked right back in because there's just so much tech. And it's like, now a kid is having a phone and a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old range or however, you know, it like becomes a normal thing. So yeah, there's that warrior in me that's like, protect the children. In fact, the last time I went to the United States, it was around April 2 years ago, I think. ChatGPT had just come out. Now, I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't even have a phone at that time for 2 years. I had one broken iPad. I was traveling through the airport with this broken, cracked iPad trying to get my ticket scanned. And I felt like a Palladian, like landing in the airport. And ChatGPT was coming out at that point. And I remember I was hanging out with my son that day. I hadn't seen him in so long. He's taller than me now. And he was on one of his apps on his phone, and he was working with this technology and asking it questions, and it was asking him questions. And I was like feeling this, like there's an invasion in my innocent child. Baby, I need you to please go talk with Papa right now, okay? Let's talk with Papa. Yeah, I was feeling this like protect my children from predators thing, you know. I was like, oh, this is like data research, right? This is like, let's not, I joke, if you called your phone a parasite, you wouldn't hold on to it so much, right? You wouldn't touch it so much. You wouldn't let your kid go take it by themselves in their room. Like, there's a lot more going on in there with how it's impressing and taking away the innocence of the soul of the child from such a young age. And it's like, yeah, I'm realizing as I'm sharing these things with you that I don't talk about this stuff enough. And because I'm like, I have this judgment, I'm talking about negative shit, but it's stuff we do need to be real about, you know? It's like, and we all know it, actually. We actually still all know it, but it's still easy to kind of, you know, pass the tech to the kids, or we get caught up in it, or, yeah.
Yes. So true.
We got to be real and realistic somehow. It's a bit of the combination, right? It's like, what does that mean, being real, and then what does realistic mean, given the context? So I think, you know, it's a very transformative time on every level. And, you know, this is what we showed up for, though. I mean, it really feels incredible, even as we look at all these various perils. There is a wave of transformation that I know, that I believe we all know, is going to have tremendous impact in a positive sense for years to come. And on some level, we are also just being, as we mentioned before, the space holders and letting the universe work out the details of what this is really going to look like. Because we don't have to micromanage it so much as we have to show up for it and hold space and bear witness and be there for those crossing that rainbow bridge, as you mentioned, who, like you, when you had your near-death experience, are just coming from complete immersion in another world into the new reality, right? Because people are going to be coming more and more, as they have been. I mean, we talk about refugees, we talk about migration. We have refugees from Babylon. We're going to see more of them coming, and they're coming from every nation. And they're coming out of the head and into the heart. And that's really what's happening. And it's happening in such a phenomenal way that we obviously can't keep our eyes on every bit of it, but we all have ours, which is ours to observe and hold the space for. And so I'm blown away. Like, you know, the timing of this is impeccable for me. I mean, obviously today is my galactic return, so I'm happy to celebrate that. 72, half of your 144. We know the numbers are very, very clear in terms of the balance and the proportion. We know what we're holding the space for as we near this golden intersection of timelines is a major threshold crossing. It feels almost as if December 21st, 2012 was the dress rehearsal for what we're now moving into. You know, in many ways, it feels like on this side of the completion of history and all of that set to bed in its own way, we're at this entirely new threshold in space. So, you know, it's like, you know, what do they say? Get out your popcorn. I mean, you know, like, enjoy the show, honestly. Like and do truly, like, enjoy your life. Your life is the show. Like, you are a participant, not just an observer. You know, even though there is the observer effect, we're also participating by observing, and it has an impact. And so we want to honor that for everybody in their role, in their responsibility, their leadership, and you know, as we again anchor this Gene Key 31, their humility, that really supports, that we can hear the others, that we can hear the higher self, we can hear the greater self, the whole community, the whole family. That's the invitation now, I feel. And it's just a real honor to know that you are there and you are anchoring such steadfast commitment, with family, even from a heart distance with your children in the north. I mean, they're with you. They feel you. They know you're there. They know you're there. They know you're doing a big, big work. And so, it's just a very special thing. And for me, as a relatively new father, this is, I'm appreciating it in my own way, as well as I'm with a near 20-month-old child now with Ishel and I, and our son Zaki as well, his older brother, little guide. And I'm seeing things through their eyes, as I'm sure you do as well. We see it through our children's eyes. And it's like, whoa, what a vista, like hasta la vista. But for real, it's phenomenal. So we get the joy of knowing that they're going to see things that we've never even begun to imagine. Oh my goodness. I mean, born on this side of the end of the cycle and into this weird fray of technology and our return to natural organic technology as the beings we are in right relationship noospherically with the earth. All of that is at play right now. It's just a real phenomena. What a thing, so I just say, hey, we're here to celebrate life. I mean, that's my life purpose is Gene Key 42. So I'm all about that celebration. Let's really celebrate life, and then venerate the truth, venerate our ancestors, venerate each other, venerate our mothers, our fathers, venerate the earth, venerate the sun. Let's not forget the sun while we're at it. I'd like to tap into this a little bit, because while we're talking about the earth as well, we also want to regard the sun. There's something phenomenal happening with the sun, and I know you're nearer the equator than us here in the north. So share with me a little bit what comes up for you with regard to the sun. What changes have you directly seen? Because I know you're really tapped in and you're tuned in. What changes are you seeing? What transmissions are you receiving and perceiving with relationship to the sun specifically?
I mean, we spend most of our time there. We're solar beings. This is where this is the manna from heaven. This is where we receive our food. We understand also that there are attempted artificial shifts taking place with the sun. But we understand that it's deeper. It's the central sun too, right? But there is that idea of understanding that I receive my energy from the source, not a plug-in of a wall. Someone was just telling me anything plugged in is hackable. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, you plugged into a wall, she said. And I was thinking, yes, I want to be less plugged into walls, right? And more plugged into nature. And so, yeah, we probably spend hours a day just sitting in the sun. That's actually, it's like an Egyptian picture or something. It's the mom and the dad and the kid. We're just sitting, but that's what we do for our food, our breakfast, our energy, just like a plant, right? A plant and the photosynthesis. And so, and then of course, water and nature, these are the simple things that I just think we shouldn't forget about them. I wonder what it's like, sometimes someone will remind me, I'll be talking about the beautiful stars in the sky, and someone will say, we don't have stars here, or I don't see stars. And I'm like, what would it be like to live in a space where you couldn't see stars, and that is actually real, or that people don't have hummingbirds, and and it makes you think. So I like to bring in the invitation of the hummingbird consciousness. The hummingbird is so small, but vibrates so fast and burns so many calories that its nature demands a nature of much nectar. It needs to be drinking the honey all day in order to do what it does. And so I always say, as we're coming into our plasma bodies, as our plasma bodies expand, it would demand that we have a natural plasmic field around us. And nature is that field. And so I'm not so fascinated by the healing med beds and the things like that. They could keep us from remembering that the most priceless thing is actually trees and nature and water, and where there's still birds flying around,
Plasma synthesis. So basically, the plants are photosynthesis. That comes up for me that we're actually going through an experience of plasma synthesis, which would make great sense given the plasmas, the daily radial plasmas, and the synchronometer, and how it is intermingling with our physical forms. The energetic, like you say, plugging into the wall, it's literally, those are the real energetic sockets, or how those plasmas, those fluids, are literally interacting with our chakras, our light bodies. But I am only imagining how transformative and how visceral that must feel for you, given, because I mean, obviously I live in LA. Yeah, I don't see a lot of stars at night. We see the big major ones, which is a good thing. But, I'm just imagining the balance of the night and the day with the stellar array and the solar infusion. It's just, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Very good thing.
It's the real circadian rhythms, right? And usually we do have cicadas that are like singing in the morning, singing at the sunset, and we don't have a time change here. So like, it is like its own protected biosphere kind of, its noosphere. Like, it kind of does feel like that a little bit. And yeah, the solar energy is the key. We're 9 degrees above the equator here, so we are pretty close. And it is, that is one thing I've noticed too, just in our human conditioning, how much people have been programmed and conditioned to be afraid of the sun and nature. And so it's just something like you don't even I forget until we have visitors. And then I remember, let me be gentle with this. Like, let's get your shoes off your feet. Let's get some socks off of you. Let's get you sitting you don't need a hat right now. You don't need your sunglasses right now. You don't need your sunblock right now. Let's touch the mother. Let's get down in her. She's not going to hurt you. She's here for you. It's like kind of like cleaning up some old things that have been taught to us about protecting ourselves from nature. We're talking about protecting ourselves from the trees and the sun when we need to be protecting ourselves from technology.
I want you to lather yourself with chemicals to protect yourself from nature. Like, it's so
that are poisoning the reefs and the coral, right? Yeah. So
goodness.
Yeah. It's like, forgive us for we know not what we do. We just grew up being taught things and we believed them, and it's just so you open the book 4 Agreements, and I remember when I first read it by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it talked about the domestication process in the beginning, and I was like, oh my God, I never knew till I knew. But now that I know, now that I know that I've been domesticated, how do I, and that's the crazy part about domestication, is that when you grew up in it, you might not even realize that you're domesticated. You might not even realize you're not free, if you would say so, So we're just popping through some gates, right? Some freedom gates, some liberation gates, breaking out of cages over here.
Dematerializing. I love that one, by the way. Yeah. Dematerializing. Literally, like, you're probably becoming lighter, meaning some people might not be able to even perceive you.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to what's that book, the Celestine Prophecy, they gave a great example of that in that movie and the book. When people are vibrating at a particular level, it's a difference between people being able to perceive them.
It does make sense. This is actually why when I meet someone, I'll tell them, I don't meet many people. So I imagine that you came here for a very specific purpose and reason. And I do understand, Gene Keys in the Codon Ring of Light, specifically, it actually talks about, the process that we have to go through in order to hold light in our body. And so someone was saying to me that you couldn't just take someone that's not going through some progressive shift and like you'd almost shock them, like their body can't hold it in the same way. And so that is why I'm so passionate about talking about the purification process, because we are being called to hold more light. And in order to hold more light, we've got to let go of the heaviness, the darkness, the density. So there's no judgment about that. It's like purify it, clean it, get it out. In the veneration process, there's the grafting of like, what are we preserving and what are we not preserving, so that we can get into the higher planes of existence. So there is like a cleaning and a purification and a transmutation going on. Those are all the shadow aspects of the self, which we're certainly not afraid to look at. That's what's so fun about the Gene Keys. It makes it fun, like get in there. It's not even shadow work anyway, it's celebration work. And you can have fun with this. And I'm watching people just leap. Now they have the star pearl. And Costa Rica, if you write it as one word, is called Costa Rica, because Costa Rica. So it spells star. if you put it together, that's what I call it. Instead of America, Atlantis, Costa Rica. So I always feel like that's kind of what's happening here. Costa Rica is where the star tribes gather. It is where the conscious, it almost feels like its own. Because in my mind, I was thinking that the whole world was transforming like this at the same time. And then now that I'm interacting, I'm realizing, oh, wow, there's dimensions, going on here. And so what is the bridge? How do you bridge it? Like, it starts with conversation, of course, and like, hello, talking across the phone line or something. But it's meant to be fun. And 42 that you have, I love this code. I'm 42 years old this year. So I always say, like, whatever year you are is your gene key theme of the year. And so, so celebration is, and I've been told that I don't have any attachments, almost like it's a fault, but I think it's actually a gift because the 42 is about non-attachment. I've had to have this non-attachment to be able to start to explore these fields of consciousness. I had to like let go. And even as I keep transforming and we all are going through these processes, it's like, you could easily be like, I just transformed from this to this, and now I've become this, and now I'm going to market and sell this and advertise this, or like whatever. And it's like, no, for me at least, I keep going, keep dematerializing what's there. Oh, direct connection to the source. Sun, our free energy, right? Unlocking free energy. That's really what this is, the real free energy. I've had my questions actually about Tesla because some of its last messages were actually about electromagnetic frequency weapons for controlling people with laser guns and shit. So I'm like, free energy is, I don't need anything outside of myself to be contained, right? Like, I am directly connected to the source. I'm directly connected to the energy field. I'm a full direct current, not an alternating current. I'm not putting a person, place, thing, food, or medicine, whatever, in between, or God in between me and the plugging in of the source.
So your sunlight, your water, and your plants, essentially the plant medicines, to the degree that that's engaged as well, because they're also obviously helpful agents and supporters in many ways. These become some of the new, this becomes an emphasis now, right? Toward that end, particularly the sunlight and the water, especially, like that primarily. That seems to be a recurring theme for us as well. And a lot of the work we've been doing and working together with our allies and partners towards really safeguarding these resources, because that's one of the big things, is ensuring the protection of the sacred as part of our warriorship, our leadership, part of our responsibility, our kuleana, collectively and individually, is the protection of these sacred treasures, the water especially. So, yeah, thank you for everything again that you're anchoring there. Rubén, I would love to invite you. Do you have anything as we round this up? Come off mute.
Just to give thanks for the conversation and for having the courage as a mother to stand for what is right, and for giving that example to many mothers that are probably watching now or in the future, and also invite her, Alisha, to bring that energy to the golden intersection. Is so needed. To really, as King 144, that is bringing that golden ratio in its purest form, the meeting of the spiral and the square, to anchor that in Costa Rica, that energy, that golden juice that is really the sacred proportion that governs everything in life, and that we are now being called to really anchor at that frequency at a whole new level in our DNA, in our daily lives, in the education system, in everything. We don't hear much about the golden section or the golden proportion. It's just now coming into really the consciousness of the planet. So for you as an embodiment of that frequency, just to give thanks to your service, to everything that you are anchoring in Costa Rica, and of course for the work that you are doing as a mother, which is basically the protection of what is sacred.
Yes.
Thank you both. It's been so great to meet with you. It's been, it's exciting for us to be swirling in this, and I don't want to forget that the seed, and since we're in the year of the seed, is connected to the memories of Atlantis.
Yeah.
And so we remember that we're not I always say we're in the rewrite of the fall of Atlantis. I remember an Atlantis that never fell. So I'm like, I feel like I'm in the fall of Atlantis going, ugh. And so there are we are being called in the leaders and the guides with the voices, with the connections, with the networks. We know that we win this game, and we shouldn't pretend that there hasn't been a battle of the light and the dark going on. There certainly has and is going on, and we know that the light wins this game, and that we are equipped with our voice as the most powerful thing. Actually, our voice, our frequency, our inner authority. That we are equipped and ready to show up for whatever we're being called to with this mission, as a messenger, as a teacher, as a guide, whatever they are, as someone modeling freedom, whatever your job is. And we all have a job to do. And I think right now the voices are so loud about we're being called for shifting, and we can't deny these things anymore. So we have to follow the heart and that inner brain, which is our stomach is the new brain. That's the 2027 mutation of human design, is the mutation of the solar plexus. And so when we stop feeding that brain with so much stuff, and that's why I still enjoy and eat some food. It's pretty basic and simple and light these days, but we thought that food gave us energy. But as our light body turns on, we realize that the food's actually requiring our energy that would be complete source energy to digest food. And so there's something about that will be called to, shift our relationship with food as we have with time. I always say we're always controlled by the food, money, time, sex, and power. Those are like the sacral chakra hijacks that keep us spinning, right? So anyway, so the cleaning of doing a fast or doing a cleaning is always a good idea when we're talking about this organic technology in Atlantis. And we're like, what does it mean to have organic technology? It's I remember we could teleport. I remember we could move between time and space. I remember that we could bilocate. I'm not fascinated by electric cars. That's basic.
That's
so I want us to remember that it's easy to get into the oohs and the ahs of these new things, or even Elon Musk's Starship thing that exploded, Starship 36 or something. And I was it actually looks like a nuclear missile. It doesn't even look like a starship. We're the starships. Let's get real about who the galactics are and why things are being done with mass amounts of money to try to figure out or emulate cosmic technology. We're the cosmic technology. And when we come together, we can actually create and build. It's not just a one-man Lone Ranger type of thing. There's many creations and inventions to come, but they come through synarchy views. They come through collective group fields, not just one man trying to get his famous patent or something like that. So we do remember that it works like that. This galactic civilization, Atlantean civilizations that were bringing advanced, intelligent beings into the field together, and we remember technologies that we've actually used before. Because we also know everything that's ever happened and ever will already happened, right? We can collapse this down and get real that there's no such thing as time, and we're remote viewing, and we're crossing these intersections of moments of time, and then together we can actually collapse time, or we can even bring an entire reality to a time. And that is something just to get real about, is how we are the time travelers individually. But actually, even as I said that, I just had this feeling in my, and I want to tell you what this is. This is your thymus gland technology. And the medicine world or the medical world will tell you that you're born with this thymus gland, but that by the time you're 8 or 9 and your hormones are turning off, that it calcifies. But that is not true. And I call it your planetary high heart chakra. And so, and it feels, and something that some people might even call the idea of anxiety, because I just felt literally like a butterfly in my chest going. So I know this is a perceiver and a receiver and a transceiver and a transmitter. And so I feel that usually when I say something or I'm in the field with people, that this thing is working. This is a technology, and look, I'm not going to go to a doctor and ask him about it. He doesn't know. This is not their world, right? So we're coming into a new science, a new spiritual technology. We're just learning how to put context to how these structures, like the sphenoid bone, the galactic butterfly that is the massager of the pineal gland, the gates of consciousness, here on the back of the head, but the thymus gland goes to gene key 26. And it's about the new way of doing business, heart marketing, and it also is the programming partner of the 45. And it has to do with the unlocking of the communion and the money, ultimately about activating planetary prosperity. So there's written code in there that we can really start to find our way through. And I remember one time I was on the phone with you, Rubén, a couple years back, and we were reading the 45. You had told me a history of a boat that had come with many gods. I can't remember the story, but I would like to hear it again. I don't know if we have time here, but at least at some point I would like to hear it again. But
This
I
is
just
a good time.
From Tulan La Lejana. This is the story. Basically, it's the book that Jose received on King 144. And when he read that story of this crew of star people who arrived to Earth and had a shipwreck, and started to look for ways to interact with the native inhabitants of the Earth without interfering in the evolutionary process, that they went through an entire journey of questioning how to either go back home or leave here the technologies that will allow us to get to the next level of consciousness, the level that they were experiencing and that they were seeing as gods. So this is a short storybook that was given to Jose Arguelles by Mother Taineta Mohammed on Day Out of Time of 1994. The next day was July 26. King 144 was the year of the Yellow Magnetic Seed, and when he read that book at a beach in Hawaii, he got this remembrance of he was part of that crew, and that he was probably the person who was narrating the story, who left the written story, the accounting of that, which is the cosmic navigator called Chak Le. So these are like the stories that are supposed or that are fulfilling the mission of awakening our memory of all those capacities that you just mentioned, that there is another way of doing this that is not AI, or is not the electric car, or is not the iPhone 25. It's an organic technology that we are able to develop, and that the star people came here to teach. It's just that in our process of awakening, we thought that these people were gods, and that we were not able to do the same. But we are equipped with the same organic technology that will allow us to shift those gaps in between worlds and dimensions. And today, being a World Bridger Day, well, it's such an amazing opportunity to remember that we are the World Bridgers, that we are all the vehicles for that new paradigm to really become heaven on earth here on the planet. So thank you, Brother Mikuak, for being an example of that and a living testimony of that mission. And thank you, Alisha, for bringing the anecdote of that book, which we will put on the chat for today for people to check, because it's basically it's since 1994 we are completing how many years? 25 plus 6,
31
years. 31, like the gene key.
Yeah, like the gene key. Perfect. Look at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. 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 Well, thank you. Thank you both for this amazing convergence here, this prelude to the convergences before us. So thank you very much. I feel like this is great. Just tapping in with each other and saying, hey, we're here, you're there, everybody's where they're meant to be at the moment. So we navigate this in such a good way. But let's certainly keep the energy high vibing, and just love and gratitude to your family there in Costa Rica by your side in those beautiful elements. We give thanks for all you are doing to ground this amazing transformative opportunity that we all benefit from. So we truly appreciate, love you for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
In Lakesh.
And like
Arcturus force field, Syrian force field. Time generates the tree through the breath of space.
We galactivated, strictly elevated, ever demonstrated, spiraling through time, liberating minds.
We amplify, regenerate, culture, venerate the elders there to give us shelter. Unify, cooperate, serving, preserving the culture, wisdom we've been given.
We galactivated, strictly elevated, ever demonstrated, spiraling through time, liberating minds.
Generate, elevate,
Let me see them hands high.
penetrate, meditate,
Let me see the sunshine.
liberate, activate,
Feel the beat one time.
generate, elevate.
Galactivation.
Harmonic rune 111. Infinite mind wave reflects infinity. Octave 6. Octave of the infinite mind wave.
Confusion is illusion you create in the mind. Overcome and evolve when you see the sunshine. Activate the crystalline, vibrate so divine. Generate, elevate, galactivation.
BMU 144. You are harmonic rune 91. Galactic arc whole defines space. Octave 4. Octave of the galactic arc whole. Rune strand 12. Second gate of unity of vertical time ascending. Corresponds to the high priestess. Wind. Second light gate of Unaku 21. Opens the universal light gate to the court of the prophet. BMU 315.
We galactivated, strictly elevated, ever demonstrated, spiraling through time, liberating minds.
Where cosmic prophecy is stored. High priestess ascends from the south, Darka pole, as cosmic breath, and ascends as prophecy. Generates hyperplasma beta beta, stimulating waking conscious mediumship, and seals the radial plasma gamma. Opens third heptad gate, gate of the mystery, solar prophetic Uranus.
What a ride. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Hey, we're handling the media here. We're doing it. Beautiful video. Shout out to Alejandra and to you, Ruben, for compiling that beautiful demonstration for what is next, that being the golden intersection of timelines. And certainly we want to give a special shout out to our guest, Kin 144, for such a remarkable exchange earlier this day. I mean, it's really been a full day for me, really just being present to the synchronization effect of moving through one's galactic signature, their galactic return. And so very, very special to be able to share that together with both of you today in such a meaningful way, and with everybody out there on the chat and just all the great energy. And again, that wonderful exchange with Alisha. So shout out to she and Eduardo and River in Costa Rica. We send our love. Big aloha. And, wow. Had a chance to play a little galactivation there for the community, right?
Nice.
Put some vibes out there, bring some mystic column into the mystic column, right?
Yes.
MC Squared. Big shout out to my soul brother from another mother, Bilal Abdul Samad, Bilal Samadi, right? Kin 134. Together we make Kin 260. So we're both in the column, and together we make 260. And
Wow.
Ishel, big ups to her for her contributions and her voice on that track in particular. That was right early on when we initially met. It was such a reverie of creativity happening. We were marking the Great Conjunction at the time. People may remember December 21st, no less, in the year 2020. Where Pluto, which, as Alisha mentioned, as she was mentioning that, made me think about the Great Conjunction, because Pluto was part of the portal opening of the Great Conjunction at that time. And we notice a lot of things have since been transiting, moving along, affected maybe. So we wanted to bring that frequency into the now, because some of this music is absolutely timeless. And so I give thanks again to Bilal for his production and the chance to always collaborate with him, as he and I have been collaborating for several years, and bring that current, in the current, bring it current. Yeah. So Mystic Column, people can find that music on the streaming platforms. If they just look up the word Mystic Column or MC Squared or MC2, you can find that particular project, The Great Conjunction, Serious Codes. So, and that was track 3 for the Gamma Day, which today happens to be a Gamma Day, which makes me want to illustrate the point that if you have noticed, as Ishel just right there telepathically, and we've moved to radial plasma Gamma days now. Prior to this episode, all the previous episodes were on the Kali Day of the sacral chakra. And now we're spiraling or with the time shift as it gradually shifts in synchronization, the galactic count, we're now actually in the Gamma Day on what is so-called Gregorian Monday.
Third eye,
exactly, the third eye chakra. So it's just beautiful to consider what that really implies then with regard to the synchronization of the counts. It implies so much, because the time shifts due to the incremental shifting of the new time in synchronization with the existing time and these counts. And this is a part of what we're observing in real time. Literally, all of us tuning into this wave, we're witnessing this in its beauty, in its natural synchronization. When we hit those 13 tunes on October 14th, and we hit Phi Day the very next day, 161803 days of the Gregorian calendar. I mean, these things are helpful to note for yourself personally, but also help others become aware of it too. Give people an indicator like, hey, there's something you might want to just have a sense of, this is happening on those days, just to be able to be in the heart as much as one possibly can. That's really what the invitation is. So as you can see on the screen, we're 78 days now towards the golden intersection of timelines.
Yeah, that's 6 wave spells. It's a solar seed day. So it's 6 times 13, 78.
Wow. That's beautiful. 6 times 13. Wow. Look at that. That's elegant.
Yes.
I mean,
And
that's just amazing. Amazing. So yes, we
yes,
also want to
this synchronization with the plasmas is because of the out of time, which it doesn't happen on the indigenous Maya count. They don't have a day out of time, so they don't have to it stands alone by itself, the indigenous count.
yes.
While this is a transitional system, we don't observe the leap day. All the counts stop. So there are 2 times when this shift in the days of the week of the Gregorian calendar takes place. Once is every day out of time. It moved backwards, and every time that we have a leap day, like February 29, 2024 was the last iteration of that, we also skip 1 day. So it changes accordingly every time that we have either a day out of time or a Hunapu 00, which is the leap day. We have a shift in the correlation of the daily plasma and the Gregorian day of the week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of the things that we recognize then being, 44 units apart currently, the 2 counts, right? So every 4 years, we're moving 1 unit closer to being what will in, I guess, what the year 2108, is it? 2208. Okay. So in the year 2208, there'll be 4 years where the counts will literally be in sync. They'll be in the same frequency. So where we're at now is preparatory. We're in the process of unifying. When we talk about uniting and unifying the counts, these are these are truly some of the preliminary observations now being made conscious towards the future. So what we're actually doing collectively by observing this together, there's nothing really to do other than observe it truly. We're making that completely conscious. So together in reality. So the events forthcoming in that case with, let me pull it up really quick, but just to share the events in Palenque, for example, we're going to continue to really speak about this just to, help, again, elucidate for people why Palenque of all places. Why is it very specific to this particular prophetic stream? What does the prophecy of Telektanon have to do with this? What is it we, through observation and through the research of those who've gone before us, been able to collectively observe relative to this synchronization? Because I feel, to some degree, and I've said it before, that December 21st was perhaps in some ways a dress rehearsal of sorts. I mean, it was obviously its own specific thing, and yet the continuity of it along the cycle of these tunes is really remarkable. So just to witness how the weaving of these things, coming up this October, and this is why on the graphic above, people can see on the screen the counts, the distinct counts for the sequence of days. Basically, they can see the counts in both the traditional as well as the new Sirius notation on both sides. And so this is for the effect of making conscious that these counts are actually not in contrast to each other. They're in sync, literally. And this is what the overall process actually is. It's a synchronization beam we've been moving through. This is, a layer of the awareness in terms of the cosmology of the synchronic order, is we're literally moving through a synchronization beam where everything is being recalibrated effectively. You know,
Yes.
and so it's just, with that in mind, we knew this before 2012. We knew this has been a process underway for 40 years, really, at this point. So we're 2 generations in, y'all. Like we're we're in the pioneering phase still to some greater degree, but we're 2 generations in. So it's not, it is the new time, though it's also, we just celebrated or observed the 33rd day at a time celebration, right? Happening to be on Kin 38, as I learned last episode. I had no idea. That blew my mind. Just to know that was Kin 38 being King Etznab's kin, and the crystal tone of cooperation, that be the first day out of time, day of universal forgiveness, peace through culture. Like, come on,
Yes.
that can't be a coincidence.
Yes, and actually we are going to enter from the golden intersection to December 21st, 2025, the completion of the 13 solar orbits. That would be really an interesting time, also that window between the 13 tombs and the 13 solar years, because the way that everything is transpiring on the planet, it really seems that we are heading towards something new. Completely new.
Completely new. Exciting and new, like the Love Boat of a whole other sort, perhaps.
Yes.
Let's bring this up for folks. With the program, as you can see here, this is actually something we introduced last episode as well. Just want to put this here for a moment, just to give people a sense about the 8 days in Palenque. For those that are inclined, feel the call to meet us there. We are really fortunate to have Hotel Via Mercedes working in collaboration to provide special rates for everybody participating in our group for these 7 nights and 8 days. Hotel Via Mercedes will be the primary location for the activities of the gathering, with site visits to the archaeological site, the temples and everything on the grounds in the archaeological zone, as well as to local waterfalls at one point throughout the experience. And there'll be also opportunities for people to venture into Palenque or the area for food or things like that as well. So it's a very organic schedule. I'd love for you, Rubén, if you want to highlight some of the aspects of those 8 days, as people can see on screen, just to share.
Yes. Well, what basically the activities were dictated by the timing of the event and the timing of the synchronization. The fact that it is preceded by the celebration of Indigenous Peoples Days in the U.S. and the Day of the Encounter of Cultures in Mexico. That would be October 12 and 13. So that opened a window of opportunity to really go back to the past and acknowledge the history, so that we can heal and release any karmic debris, anything that we are still holding from that trauma, letting that go. We will on day 1 we will welcome all the participants. On day 2 we will be igniting the sacred fire of the heart, which is basically an opportunity to open with the cacao ceremony, go to the Temazcal, purify ourselves. Then the next day, we will honor the banner of peace, and the Palenque was declared on July 26, 2023, a peace sanctuary. So the banner of peace was anchored there in ceremony, and we want to honor that and bring that up, so that we can really be at peace with our past, so that we can anchor in the present and project to the future, to the next, not only the next 7 generations, the next 7 dynasties, which are the 7 Baktuns to complete the 20 the Baktun cycle called the Piktun. That will happen on October 13th. So on that day, October 13th, we will go to the archaeological area and connect with that, with the Temple of Inscriptions, where this date in the future is recorded, the closing of a cycle of 400 generations, 20 Baktuns, each Baktun comprised by 20 Katuns or 20 generations. So the idea is that we go to the past, we come back to the present, and we go project into the future, so that for the day 5, which is the golden intersection of timelines, we already completed the circuit, and we can really anchor in fully in the present to become a vessel for the synchronization that is taking place within and without. This is, let's remember, this is a mathematical constant that permeates all reality, at least on this third dimension, and that we are basically either consciously, those who are aware of the golden intersection, or unconsciously, the rest of the planet who are still probably immersed in the 1260 frequency. We are going through that, and actually computer systems work through the counting of these systems through to track time. These 161,803 days that we are completing on October 14 is part of a count still used today called the Lillian count, engineered by IBM, or at least used by these engineers to track cycles of time within a system that we don't have to reconcile leap days, or we don't have to figure it out really if it's February or if it's July or March, but it's a whole it's like a little bit like a long count in the Gregorian calendar. So these systems are working in the background with these numbers, and we are going to be part of a conscious convergence of the cycles measured by the Maya and the cycles measured by the Gregorian calendar, so that we can really, on the next day when we arrive to Phi Day, the golden ratio fractal, we can have another celebration of time is art. We will have the opportunity on day 6 to enjoy music, poetry, painting, and do like really a celebration of life. And on day 7, we will return to the origin. Palenque or Lakamha means the place of sacred waters, and we are honoring the waters as the origin. That's why this entire experience called Return to Origin, return to the origin of the prophecy, return to the original seed of life, which is water. And in honoring the water, honoring that flow of life, we will kind of close the circuit and complete the journey, so that on day 8 we can all return home with a sense of completion and fulfillment, that something big, we were part of something bigger that took place, and that we will be able to share with our next generations as something that we were conscious about, that we lived through.
Exactly.
Yes.
That we observed. And speaking of observation, just to be clear about these numbers, and this literal hall of mirrors that we're navigating, day out of time, the very first one, 1992, Kin 38, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, this future forward date that's inscripted in the Temple of Inscriptions at the very top, October 13th,
Is
Kin
Kin 38.
38.
Yes.
And that's in the year 4772 in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just reflecting for a moment that you're looking from 1992 to 4772,
Mm-hmm.
both Kin 38,
Mm-hmm.
King Etznab's kin there. So 20 Bach tunes complete.
Yes.
And then the prophecy of Pakal's return is 8 days later on the 21st as a, what is it, a rhythmic?
8. Yeah, it's a resonant world bridger
Resonant
date.
world bridger. Okay. So we're also in the year of the new Sirius cycle 1.38.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we're in the 38th cycle, making this conscious. Let's just, I'm just positing this out here for consideration for those listening on the live chat, just to,
It's like
we're doing
the
in real
bookend.
time, just kind of bookending. It's there's a lot of words for it.
The bookends and the resonance with the bookends.
Now,
Because
this is a crystal tone of cooperation through the endlessness and the order, the reflecting of the mirror. That's a powerful container, and I mean, just something else.
Yeah.
And again, our very own King El Rey, and just to posit this, he'll be the next upcoming guest to speak particularly about what's coming up on the Gregorian 9th of August, exactly, World's Indigenous Peoples Day, because it's a big part of what's happening with the Indigenous Water Bank and everything. So I'm just identifying these amazing synchronicities as we're observing the process together. So, and I do want to give a shout out and invite people to visit buildabetterworld.iwb.coop. As we were speaking with Alisha earlier, in fact, after we got off the exchange, we were mentioning some of that to her as well, because IWB is in the process of supporting this paradigm shift where we can truly shift together in cooperation and mutual autonomy. That's really the wave. That's a big part of the wave. And these codes are absolutely a fundamental basis for it. It's actually the frequency upon which we stand. These are truly the codes of our ancestors. So we're moving definitively to reclaim them, reclaim the codes in places where it actually matters and where it will be of great benefit to assure that worldwide recognition of these codes, and add to the recognitions that already exist, but really put things in a greater, more clarified context. And so, as we get more refined in this and we have more emphasis into the autonomy and the unity of Indigenous peoples worldwide, this is a part of the process. So we just want to continue to really emphasize that and hold this container wide for returning to the origin. Like this action in Palenque, this offering, this connection and convergence in Palenque is a major expression of that, given the nature of Pakal to this entire experience. So, and with the waters, really and truly, as you mentioned, La Kamha, the waters, the place of the waters, the sacred waters. And those waters, I have to say, having been there before, there's something very special about those waters.
Yeah.
And, and I know many years ago when I was there, some of those places are no longer accessible, I would imagine, to some of the public, as it were, though we'll allow the nature to take its course and the magic to have its way to see exactly what we do experience there together, because Palenque is also very magical by its very nature. You can truly feel it. So we want to encourage people who want to learn more to join the WhatsApp group, where they can learn about the experience that we're having together, Return to Origin and Palenque, and they can get any questions answered by any one of us in the crew on the 260 pod, our Harmonic Factor team. And is there anything you want to add there to that point?
Yeah, that the full program, we are just right now going using this map of the rainbow serpent to illustrate a little bit the activities. But the
Exactly.
details, if you join the WhatsApp group, we are publishing there the full program. Is a 20-page program with all the details, all the recommendations. It's important to say that it's an open event, and that we are doing really a great effort in making it accessible to everyone,
Yes.
including having a special uh, discount at Villa Mercedes that it's only going to be available until September 15, because of course they need, if they still have spaces, they will be free to offer them to anyone interested in being in Palenque for those dates. So we really recommend people to book in advance and to start planning for your flights and your reservations, because once we set the intention to be there, everything starts to unfold at a whole different pace. So it's like giving your yes means giving the yes to the universe, really, so that we can all gather there in the true spirit of cooperation and creating a special vessel of souls to tune into the frequencies of, of the golden ratio.
Exactly. And please scan the image on the screen if you want to. I'm also putting a link in the chat for folks that want to check out the website directly, where you'll have information and links to the WhatsApp group for the hotel, which is a different group versus the one that's just the general information for the experience in Palenque, generally speaking. And also, we invite folks who will be wherever they may be around the world tuning in with the golden intersection of timelines to tap in with our Facebook page, because we can use that as a space where people can communicate and can share, can tap in, can ask questions, can connect with others, can perhaps find where other people are having their own gatherings. I mean, we're inviting people to certainly get out into nature, get out into the heart, really and truly, and connect with community. As we like to say, make conscious, make sacred, make art. Really take this as a very heartful opportunity, because really and truly, this is an experience that will never, ever happen again in this way. This is a supreme harmonization event like no other has ever happened, in that the numbers don't lie. And what they're inferring is a complete synchrony of harmony on multiple levels. So we've been holding this space for years to shift from harm to harmony. So these numbers are actually expressing that, hey, watch us work. This is what we're going to do. So we get a chance to really sit back and open the heart and celebrate and venerate the origin, really and truly, and collectively, cooperatively, like really be the rising tide that lifts all boats, so to speak. Be that true shift.
Yes.
And I'll also mention one goal and intention we are holding. You're going to hear more about this in the coming heptads. We really are intending to achieve 144,000 signatures on our open petition. Initially, the petition was addressed to the United Nations, to the Secretary General. Then we basically just generalized the petition to the human family, being addressed to the human family. Because really, I mean, on one level, sure, we could present it to the UN Secretary General. That's fine. However, really, this is an appeal to the human family, really more than anybody, because it's up to us to be the change that we want to see, right, so to speak. So in light of that, and we are the ones that then sway and influence the systems. It's just we've been separated for so long, we forgot that we actually hold the power. So as a part of this, we have this as a gesture to say, yes, I assert and choose to shift the timing basis that I'm living by. I choose to no longer identify with this domination code or this artificial time construct, because I now know that it was completely concocted for control of the population, period. Full stop. And now at 443 years of age, it's getting retired, literally. Now we have this petition that relates to Calendar Referendum Initiative 2028. Because when we look at the year 2028, as we've been talking about these Venus cycles, there is a beautiful synchronization happening. And this is where Venus is coming into fuller and fuller view, because there is a synchronization that is being harmonized, as the harmonic factor is, by Venus. And the Calendar Referendum Initiative directly relates to that. It's literally woven into that, as it was by intention when we launched it in the year 2020. Now, by the time we got to 2020, it was already 4 years old, this petition. So, we look to reach the sum of 144,000 original unique signatures on the petition by the golden intersection of timelines, because that will represent a ripple in the consciousness of such momentum and proportion that we will shift into the new time definitively. We're already seeing it happening. And for those of us paying attention, we see it. We can all see it. It's plain as day. And this creates ways for us to make the transition in a frequency match with how we're coded, how we're literally as human beings coded, And so obviously those who've been tapping in with us, they know a lot of the different ways we look at this. I mean, the 1320 is in your fingers and your toes. It's in your articulating joints. We literally are the time frequencies. So getting to this is about returning to origin as well. It's about literally taking that stand and speaking your truth, because what we see in the mayhem in the world, a lot of it is codified and held, contained inside of the construct of artificial time. That's why dissolving it is very important. Dissolving it first in our own consciousness. We're witnessing the wave of it being literally washed away by nature. So just want to mention, and we're right now 14,432 verified signatures. So let's look at the scale. We need to 10 times this to make our mark of 144,000 people. Will you help us? Help us put this out there in groups and chats and place. Make it a conversation. This is one of the most fundamental, important things for people to become conscious of, is the impact of calendars on their consciousness, and the fact that we can actually choose a natural timing frequency. It's already been established. It exists. It exists, and it's real. And it's also coming in the new wave. It's coming from the ground up. It's coming from the people. It's not coming from the top down. We go into those places of high ceilings to put them on notice that this is what has happened. And I say happened because it's already happened. It happened in 1987, y'all. Like, we're literally 2 generations into this thing. For real. So, I give great thanks tonight. I appreciate the Galactic Return celebration, in my own gene key frequency of 42 as well on this episode 43. And, I realize that we've gone into a timeless place with it also, nearly 4 hours at this point. But you know what? It's on the record, and that's the most important thing. And for those tapping in and tuning in, thank you for staying up with us and staying the course in your respective path and your purpose. But we honor you and we see you. We really appreciate your camaraderie on this journey and this cooperative frequency that we're all mutually generating together. Let's have more of that. So thank you to Alisha and Rubén. Anything you would love to add? Thank you so much for you, my brother.
No, thanks to you, and thank you for holding always the space and for keeping up with your art, your music, your role as a dad, your role as a partner, and becoming every day a better human being. It's been really an honor to share the journey with you, and we give thanks for your presence on this planet, for sure.
My brother. And to all the fathers and mothers, thank you. And and all the sons and daughters, of course. So we give thanks to everybody out there, Ishel and Alejandra, our 260 pod. We love you and we lift you up. Thank you for everything you do to contribute to make this presentation happen. And
That's
definitely,
really
people, please check out the harmonicfactor.com just to stay tapped in with what's happening. As we make this journey, we're going to continue to update the website. We invite you to go there, get your galactic synchronometer, your 1328 harmonic synchronometer, your galactic calendar, or our variation thereof for this current cycle, this new cycle. Get that at the harmonicfactor.com. And again, sign this petition, put the petition out there. Just help us spread the word. We're going to see these numbers rise. And I heard from our sister Uma today, and she sent well wishes to me for the galactic return. And we talked about the petition, and she was very instrumental in helping launch the petition and write the language and really getting it out there in that first wave. And so she made the mention of the magic of it being a magic and a miracle that we could do this, that she is feeling it. And, the energy is there. So with your support out here, we know that we will truly build a better world and make these changes our reality. Okay.
The petition that came out 9 years from the golden intersection without us knowing about it, for October 14.
Say it again. I mean, that's real. We had no idea. We honestly, we had no idea. I'm wondering if I'm hearing the song I shouldn't be hearing right there right now, but that's fine. Did you hear the theme song?
Yeah, a little bit.
It came in. I'm not sure what's going on with our system here, but I tell you what, it's been a great one, y'all. Thank you for everybody staying tapped in and tuned in. We're going to see y'all in the next spin. All right. In Lakesh, Alakin. We're getting, it's the Sandman. Sandman is pulling us out off the stage. Like, you guys got to go. We'll be here till tomorrow.
But I like the blending.
Yeah, no, there's a little blend. We got a blend. I like it. Have a little sound vibration underneath. We love it. Yeah, big up everybody in Lakesh, Alakin. Be the love you want to see in the world. All that good stuff. 1044. Look at that. It's meant to be. It's meant to be. We need those signals. 144,000. Yeah, 144,000. Let's go, y'all. All right. One love.
Tune in with the Galactic Spin Podcast and expand your view.